Today's episode comes to you from the Blue Chew Studio. When you buy 2 months of Blue Chew Gold, you get the third for free with the promo code Wrestle. You'll also receive an additional 10% off plus free overnight shipping on your first order at BlueChew.com.
Welcome to Something to Wrestle With.
Something to wrestle with.
Bruce Prichard.
Well, you know.
That's not a rib.
No, yeah, but me.
There's no box of gimmicks.
Rumor and innuendo.
I don't deal in rumor and innuendo. And was he there? I was there.
Say something about
I don't give a shit.
Welcome to Something to Wrestle With.
Something to wrestle
Something
with.
to wrestle with.
Something to wrestle with.
Dig it.
Bruce Prichard. Hey, it's Conrad the Mortgage Guy, and you're listening to Something to Wrestle With. John Layfield. John, what's going on, man? How are you?
Conrad Bradshaw 316 has been doing it for 10 years. Says, I just stole your fucking podcast.
Well, round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, and happy anniversary to all of our listeners who've been with us since the very beginning. Bruce Prichard and I dropped our very first episode.
Oh, I remember it very
Something
well.
to-
I was sitting there talking to you, Conrad. I said, hey, you know, we was down in Alabama, right at your house there. Dave Silva was out there. He was doing stuff, and that's when he was your cook. And I said, hey, you know what we ought to do? We ought to do a podcast. Remember, you had no idea what a podcast was. Remember that? I said, oh, yeah, it's going to be the rage. Everybody's going to want to do it. And I had like this logo stuff, like from the old Paul Bosch days, like something to wrestle with. So I thought, well, shit, I'll just use that. So that's when we came out with this podcast idea. For the last 10 years, I mean, shit, we've been changing the business. Everybody's doing one now. Undertaker's even doing one.
Well, not for much longer. I don't think he wants to keep
Well,
doing it. I don't know if you saw
correct.
that, but
Correct.
hey, maybe there's something going around, but we sincerely do appreciate all of our day one listeners. I can't believe it's been 10 years. August 5th, John, is a pretty momentous day in my life. August 5th, 2016 was the first episode of Something to Wrestle. That's when it was published. It was also my first date with my now wife, Megan. And 71 years ago, it's when my grandparents got married. So August 5th is a pretty special day here in the Thompson household.
Wow.
How did you celebrate our anniversary this week, John?
I was in Minneapolis with Ron Simmons. We had all kinds of, we had big celebration, big celebration. As Bill Irwin used to say, big money, big money. Basically sold out, Bill. How's the house, Bill? Oh, big money.
I love it. Well, we greatly appreciate you guys being with us. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of professional wrestling this week, but we got to start with some sad news today. And I know this is something that's really close and personal to you. About a year ago, we had a little shindig in Arlington, Texas called StarCast, and I decided to have like a Texas Legends panel. And I thought, man, who better to host that than a Texas legend himself? So I picked up the phone and called my great close personal friend, John Layfield. He sat down with a Von Erich and a Hanson and a Funk. And sadly, Dory Funk Jr. has passed away this week. What a legacy he leaves. Born in 1941, but he actually started wrestling the same year the zip code was introduced in the United States. That was 1963. So Dory's been in the ring as long as there's been zip codes. What a legacy this is. Just a fantastic champion for his time. I think that 69 to 73 era, most people would say he was just picture perfect as the NWA champion. He was able to make opponents look like $1 million. And of course, we know he is from one of the more storied families. Of course, his father, Dory Funk, and his brother, Terry Funk. And what a legacy he has just as a wrestler. But then you think about his work and contributions behind the scenes. What a fabulous tribute we saw this week from Kurt Angle and so many others who he helped get started in the wrestling business. But I know you knew him better than most. Tell us about your friend, Dory Funk Jr.
Yeah, you know, one of the biggest honors of my life was getting to that panel. I mean, that was so much fun to me. I couldn't believe it. I'm sitting there with guys that I idolized growing up. You know, I got to wrestle with and against Kerry and Kevin. And, man, every time I walk out to the ring with those guys, I just look and go, I can't believe I'm in the ring with the freaking Von Erich. That's how I felt about that panel. I'm there with Kevin and Stan and Dory Funk Jr. And it was just unbelievable to be able to be in the Texas legends like that. There aren't any legends bigger than those guys. I mean, when I grew up in West Texas, we got a lot of the Von Erich television, but we also got the Funk television. And so I grew up watching those guys. One of the big reasons I got in the business was because of the Funks.
What a legacy they leave, not just in the ring, not just as a famous family, but just talk just a minute about the Funkin' Conservatory. Long before there was developmental. And I think we all know that now there is a PC and there's NXT, and before that there was FCW. But once upon a time, it was just like a camp, not too very far from the actual WWE headquarters. And they ran a who's who of talent through there. Kurt Angle, Edge, Christian, Matt and Jeff Hardy, Mickey James, Lita, Mark Henry, Rhino, Test, Gene Snitsky, Christopher Daniels, Chris Sabin, Paul London, Val Venus. I mean, a who's who came through, and Vince knew who to turn to make sure these guys were ready. He could have picked anybody. He picked Dory. What was it about Dory and his training approach and approach to training and getting guys ready, whether they were just starting out or maybe polishing them for TV? What kind of extra care did Dory take that made him uniquely qualified that Vince thought, that's the guy?
You know, Dory was the one guy that could have a match with absolutely anybody. And I mean anybody. He could go out there with Brody. He could go out there with Abdullah. He could also go out there with Jack Briscoe or Jumbo over in Japan and have an incredible match. He could have a match literally with anybody with any style. You know, he can match arm drags with Jack Briscoe. I mean, you look at him here with Steamboat. It was unbelievable the range that Dory had. You know, we're doing a podcast with Gerald Briscoe, Stories of Briscoe and Bradshaw. We're doing a Texas history portion right now. Amarillo was incredibly important from Doc Sarpolis all the way to the Funks. But when the Funks took it over, I mean, to all of America, as far as wrestling, you know, is one of the most important territories there was. And it all started with, you know, Funk Sr., but then Funk Jr. and Terry Funk. And those guys come along, and I mean, they changed the business. You talk about two incredible talents, but both wrestled forever. Both could do absolutely anything, and both were incredibly over forever.
Maybe, I think this is accurate, the only two brothers to hold the NWA title. And I know these days everyone is sort of conditioned to imagine that the WWF is the biggest organization around, but that wasn't always the case. Being the NWA champion used to mean you were the absolute top dog. But when Vince went national, hey, he brought Terry and Hoss Funk in. That's still Dory. And you see, if you're watching with us on somethingtowrestle.com, Dory Funk still wrestled into his 70s over in Japan. And I don't know what it is, man. What is it about West Texas State University? There was something in the water there, was there not?
It was unreal how many legends came out of there and how many guys went there and played football. You know, that's where Stan first met Brody. You know, Brody was sitting there and had come in. He sees him later, and he goes, hey, I remember that real quiet guy that from West Texas State. And it turns out he was this wild man of Bruiser Brody. But, yeah, you had all these legends, which is so cool because I got to play against West Texas State, being from playing at Abilene Christian. And so I got to kind of be part of the whole Lone Star Conference, which is what kind of it was for many years, maybe even decades. It was that conference that it was in. But, man, you talk something in the water out there. You know, it just drew people to come out there and want to play. You know, Murdoch played in all of the alumni games and never played it down. And I still have a debate whether he ever went to one day of school. Some people claim he did, but I'm not sure he did.
I absolutely love talking about Dory Funk because there's so many stats that you could just hang your hat on and think, man, that just doesn't even sound right. He was the NWA champion for 1,563 days. Think about that. He beat Gene Kiniski a few days before Valentine's Day in 1969, and he doesn't lose the damn thing until he loses it to Harley in 73. That's a run that's almost hard to wrap your head around, is it not?
Yeah, it is. And you look at Dory, you know, when he was younger, he had a pretty good, decent build. As he got older, it wasn't that great. He was just a great worker. And when you don't have a great body like that, you have to be a great worker. You know, Terry had a pretty good body, pretty big, thick guy, but Dory was not, you know, balding, not a great muscular build. He could just work and just wrestle, and people believed in him. I mean, for very good reason, obviously, but people believed in him. It's funny, we had him on, and people always talk about the car wreck and him dropping the title to Jack Briscoe, and he put that in his book. And when we had him on our show, we brought that up. And all I said was, hey, you said in your book, Dory thinks that we're kind of taking a shot at him, because there was a little bit of kabukiism going on there. They weren't sure, all of a sudden you have an NWA change in Houston. Nobody films it. I mean, pretty suspicious stuff, from, I think the father, calling some shots down the NWA that how they wanted the title dropped, and he didn't really want a video record of it, or I guess not video, but tape record back then, film record back then. And when I brought it up to Dory, I thought he was going to leave the show for a minute. He was like, the wreck was a wreck. I mean, Dory, I'm not saying it wasn't. It's just, but there's a pretty good hit with anybody who's been around that long. There's always a little bit of history out there that people kind of bring up.
What do you think his legacy will be? In this more modern era, it does feel like, unfortunately, sadly, a lot of the wrestling history doesn't get talked about as much. And I understand that it is a function of technology. A lot of us can just go type into YouTube or just our Google browser, and we can find lots of great wrestling that was televised, or it was streamed, or it was on pay-per-view, or whatever it was. But in Dory's era, man, in 1969, wrestling was not, there weren't cameras around every corner. It was a special occasion when you worked in front of a television camera. I mean, the evolution of that, it does feel like, has changed the way we feel about old school wrestling. So I'm so thankful that places like Waterloo, Iowa exist. So you can walk through and you can feel like some of those memories and history come to life. But I wonder, from a legacy standpoint, for people in this era, since there's not so much of that old footage available, do you think he will ultimately be remembered more as the NWA champion or as a trainer for all the folks that he helped influence that many listeners to this show grew up watching?
I hope the NWA champion, because I never asked Dory this. We were pretty good friends. I was better friends with Terry. I tagged with Terry, but a real good friends with Dory and Marty. I think he'd want to be remembered as the NWA champion. And I hope that's how he's remembered. He was a great trainer. There's no doubt about that. He was an incredible trainer because Dory knew how to work. I mean, Dory could, like I say, Dory did not have a great body. He wasn't this guy you walk out and you go, oh man, look at that guy. But when he wrestled, he was awesome. Some guys just grow out there in the ring. That's how Dory Funk was. He could wrestle with anybody. And I think the legacy is going to be more about the NWA champion. And I hope it is. Because I think, I think we're alike enough to think that that's what I'd want to be remembered as more than a trainer.
Is there a particular match that you go to? Like, if there's some of our younger listeners who really grew up in maybe the golden era of the WWF, or they grew up in the Attitude Era, or whatever era it was, they missed a lot of the great Dory Funk stuff. I would be among them. Is there one go-to match that you would recommend a real wrestling fan who wanted to learn how great Dory was? I know that Bruce had his favorite. Do you have a favorite match that we could go type into YouTube and take a look at?
Not a specific favorite, but I love the ones with Jack Briscoe. And I don't know which one I would like best out of all those, but I love the tag team matches with the Funk Brothers versus the Briscoes. I love Dory working with Jack because it showed you. I mean, here's Jack, who is this legendary amateur wrestler and also this legendary NWA champion, as is Dory. But those matches, man, people talk about those. People that saw those matches talk about those matches 40, 50 years later because they were that good. I mean, those two guys were, just different level. Every generation has a few guys like that. Those were the two best. And it shows. I don't know how you could ever have better matches than those guys. It was very interesting because the Funks were baby faces in Texas and the Briscoes were baby faces in Florida. They would wrestle a match. And during that match, they would have like two different type finishes. And so all you had to do is edit it. And so when they'd show it in Texas, you'd have different commentary and the same match, but it would end the video in a different way. They would have them as the Briscoes as heels in Texas. Then they would have the Funks as heels in Florida. So they would use the same match.
Let me recommend Jack Briscoe versus Dory Funk. It went down on January 27th, 1974 in Japan. It was 2 out of 3 falls for the NWA title. They go the full hour. It is a wrestling clinic about the way wrestling used to be. If you find yourself being a Jerry Briscoe fan or a Terry Funk fan, why don't you take a look at their brothers, mix it up for the NWA world title way back in 1974 for all Japan. It's 2 out of 3 falls. It's readily available on Facebook and YouTube. Just type in January 27th, 1974. You'll get Jack Briscoe and Dory Funk. Our thoughts and prayers go to Marty and his lovely family. And what's really cool about Dory that I think a lot of people sort of gloss over, Dory did a lot of stuff outside of wrestling as well. I think Dory briefly dabbled in mortgages and insurance, and he was a businessman, an entrepreneur, but he was also an early advocate for the internet. And I think that's interesting because these days we hear so many quote unquote old timers say, oh, the internet ruined wrestling. I think Dory understood, hey, things change, things evolve. The style of working and performance is going to evolve, and the way you communicate with fans is going to evolve. I mean, he was there with those early like CRT giant monitors we all used to have back when we all had like a family computer. Everybody didn't have their own. There was like one in the household sort of thing. Dory was an early advocate of that, and I think he deserves credit for that.
Yeah, I do too. He was always a forward thinker. You know, he was always somebody that was out there on the cutting edge of everything he did, and a guy who, you know, his father was too. You know, with the starting up the territory, and like I say, that territory from Doc Sarpolis on to Dory Funk Sr. was the most important territories in America, and one of the most important territories for the NWA. And Dory was the same. You know, the thing I admire, you know, when you know Jordan playing with the Wizards. You know, I wish he had finished with the Bulls, but he had a problem with the ownership, and you know, the Last Dance was obviously pretty cool. But I understand why guys do play longer than they should, because when you're dead, you're dead. When you're done, you're done. And when you're finished, you can't go back and do it. I love the fact that Dory wrestled till he passed away. He wrestled into his 70s. I love that. That tells me he loves this business. He just wanted to be in the ring. You know, he wanted to do stuff and get out there, and look at him here. I mean, that's where Dory is at home. And I love the fact that he wrestled as long as he could.
Man, what a legacy he leaves behind. One of the most influential people, one of the unsung heroes of pro wrestling. And I know that when Vince went national, maybe we didn't see him as much, but behind the scenes, his influence was still there. Such great pictures, great memories that we're sharing with you here. Hope you'll check it out at somethingtowrestle.com. One of a kind, man. And believe it or not, Bruce Prichard's favorite wrestler ever. I had to check on our buddy Bruce. He was tore up when he got the news about Dory. I mean, I guess if you grew up as a Texas boy, I mean, being a Funk, that was pretty rarefied air, was it not?
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Those guys could have been governor of the state. Of course, they pulled the great rib on Briscoe with the Funks did with the fake governor of the state when he was named Briscoe. But yeah, they could have been anything they wanted in the state. I mean, the Funks ran Texas like the Von Erichs. You know, Fritz was the same. Kerry and Kevin Davis, they were the same. You know, the Funks were everything. Everybody knows the name Funk in the state of Texas to this day. You know, their heyday was, you know, you talk about being NWA champion back in the 70s, 50 years ago. But to this day, everybody in Texas knows the name Funk. I mean, it's an incredible legacy.
When you really think about it, I think Lou Thez probably has the longest individual reign as the NWA champion, but Dory Funk is second on that list. I mean, what a legacy that is. Our thoughts and prayers with the entire Funk family. I'm sure their extended family has unfortunately been preparing for this for a long time. Dory had a long life, but boy, did he get the most juice out of it possible. So glad that we got to spend time with him and celebrate him a little bit here on the program today. And our thoughts and prayers are with him. And I can't imagine, can you imagine the requirement that you had to have on your body and your family, just the sacrifice to be the NWA champion? And I know people talk about, you know, the heyday of Vince McMahon's golden era or the Attitude Era. You guys were on the road 250, maybe 300 days a year. It was crazy, the breakneck pace you kept. But when you were the NWA champion, you often wound up doing that same sort of tour, but you did it by yourself, not with a cast of characters. That's got to be a totally different animal, doesn't it?
It's a totally different animal. And also you're working with guys you don't know who they are in a lot of cases. You know, you're going into territories, you're helping put over their major guy, whether he's a babyface or heel, whoever their major guy is, they want to put over by putting him in the ring with the NWA champion. So a lot of times you're going 60 minutes because you don't want anybody to get beat, or you're going 45 minutes plus no matter what, because that's what they expect out of an NWA championship match. And you're doing that with somebody that you really don't know. You don't know how good a worker they are. There's going to be some great workers out there, and there are a lot of great workers. But there's going to be some rotten workers too. And you got to figure out a way to get those guys through almost an hour worth of work and then pack up, go and do it the next day as well. You know, it was a pretty rough existence. You know, your arriving was a big deal in any territory, but that's 7 days a week that you're doing this. I mean, Jack Briscoe famously, when he got done, he walked out on Jerry's dock and threw his watch into the lake. He never wanted to have a watch again because of the demands of the schedule. That schedule that those guys ran, man, that was rolling. Those guys were traveling the roads hard.
You know, I mean, realistically, not only I'm sure would it be lonely because you're traveling by yourself and you're in a different town every night, and it's challenging because this is before GPS, this is before cell phones, so you had to like set an appointment and find a payphone and call home or pay through the nose for long distance. So it wasn't easy to stay in touch with your family, and now it's going to be really challenging just to get around, like geographically. Like you got to find these buildings and towns with an old Rand McNally map. This is a different era. But I even think about, like, I don't even know how readily available 24/7 gyms and training equipment would be. And how do you eat healthy and clean on the road? I mean, that had to be a challenge back then, but it's not these days with Factor. Factor makes it easy to stick to your routine. Factor makes chef crafted, dietitian designed, ready to eat meals so you don't have to choose between real food and convenience. With over 175 different banned ingredients, every Factor meal is designed around what supports a healthier lifestyle and nothing that doesn't. Factor meals are ready in 2 meals and they require no prep and no cleanup. So even on the days your schedule is completely out of control, eating well is still achievable. Every week, you'll find over 100 nutrient-dense menu items to choose from and new options like salmon burgers, shredded pork, collard greens, and more. Plus add-ons you'll crave like pumpkin-flavored cheesecakes and protein shakes. 97% of users agree that Factor meals help them live a healthier lifestyle. So you can feel confident that you're doing something good for yourself and with every meal. JBL's been rocking Factor for a while. I absolutely love it. And I got to tell you, my wife with some fitness aspirations herself, it is Factor approved in my household. Hey, let's eat real. Let's head on over right now to factormeals.com/wrestle50off. Use the code wrestle50off and buddy, you'll get 50% off and 1 free breakfast item per box for a whole year while supplies last until October 31st, 2026. That's code wrestle50off at factormeals.com/wrestle50off at factormeals.com. See the website for details. Use that promo code wrestle50off. Factor Meals is the real deal. And so was Brock Lesnar. We wondered when we watched WrestleMania, is this it? Is he retiring? He took his gloves off. He took his boots off. He hugged Paul Heyman goodbye. It felt like a major moment on ESPN, but we knew WWE had something else up their sleeves. We saw him clash with Oba for round 2 and even it up in Italy. And then this past weekend in Minnesota, his home state, he closed the show on Saturday night in a Hell in a Cell, and Obafemi wins. Brock Lesnar grabbed the microphone and said, "This is the future," and passed the torch to Obafemi. And then he jumped on the Pat McAfee show a couple of days later. The 10-time WWE champion has made it clear he is officially retiring from in-ring competition. Quote, "I got some hunting lined up and I got 2 boys in hockey. I'm going to support that, their dreams, as long as that's feasible. And my daughter, she's got her eye on the 2028 Olympics. I'm just going to spend some more time with the kids and in the woods and just reap what I've sown, just enjoy life. I spent the last 2 days in bed. I got run over by a Nigerian nightmare dump truck. It's time. I'm 49 and I still want to be able to get around and move, but I'm grateful, very grateful. And Oba was great. The WWE Universe, everybody. I want to thank the promotion itself, TKO. I want to thank Dana White and the UFC and the Minnesota Vikings and the University of Minnesota. Everybody that believed in me and took a chance on me. And I'm just grateful, so grateful. Thanks. I still can't believe it. WWE made it official. The Beast Incarnate has been added to the alumni section of the WWE website. And he retires from in-ring competition as a 10-time WWE champion, as a 2002 King of the Ring winner, as a 2-time Royal Rumble winner, as a 2019 Money in the Bank winner. Of course, he was the NCAA Division I heavyweight wrestling champion. What no one thought was possible, he became the UFC heavyweight champion of the world. and arguably one of the biggest crossover stars in combat sports history, easily one of the biggest draws in UFC history. And he even became the IWGP heavyweight champion over in Japan. And of course, everybody always wants to know, like, hey, when a guy like this retires, what's next? Are you going to do something with Jake Paul and MVP? Are you going to do one more fight in the UFC? Like, what are you doing next? And Brock made it very clear on Pat McAfee, I ain't doing jack shit. And by God, he's earned it. You spent a lot of time with Brock Lesnar. Chat me up. What do you think about him calling it a career, John?
What a good dude, man. I love Brock. What a good dude, man. It's just the business was so lucky to have him. UFC, the MMA was lucky to have him. High school wrestling was lucky to have him. I mean, this is a once in a generation freak. I mean, absolute freak. I mean, look at that freaking neck on that guy. I mean, I don't know what that was. They're probably a junior high school pick, whatever that is. I mean, that guy was just different level. I mean, just ridiculous. They said his training in OVW was legendary there with Sheldon Benjamin. Sheldon Benjamin was a freak just like Brock. But those guys together, they said the training out there, people just don't look at it and go, my God, guys would not want to get in the ring after them because they were so freaking physical and so freaking talented. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how lucky this business was. I've been in so many arenas when Brock would walk out, and it wasn't just the music. It was Brock. I've been in so many arenas when Brock would walk out and everything changed, that's what you want. Johnny Valentine used to say, I can't make you believe wrestling's real. I can make you believe I'm real. That was Brock. I've been in arenas when the arena was pretty dead, when the show wasn't that great. And all of a sudden Brock comes out and everybody in that arena stops and looks and everything picks up. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, what a freaking run that guy had. And he's one of the biggest draws in UFC history. I don't know where he ranks. He's one of it. One time he was the biggest, I believe. One of the biggest draws in WWE history. I mean, this guy is, talk about a legend before he's 50. Pretty incredible run.
No doubt about it. What's interesting, too, is he really had two runs with WWE. We all recall he was the next big thing. He was immediately paired with Paul Heyman, became one of the youngest champions in WWE history. What a collision course they set him up for, him and Rock at SummerSlam. I don't think I'll ever forget the training clips of them running up and down the steps at the stadium. It had a big fight feel. We know Rock had his sights on Hollywood, and they were really going to try this ruthless aggression era. And it was Brock Lesnar's and John Cena's to a large degree. And then when you really get rolling, it feels like, man, he fell out of love with wrestling. He wraps things up at WrestleMania 20. It's not that fun of an ending. He tries his hand in MMA. He even tries his hand in football, which is really one of the best Brock Lesnar stories, I think, around. A guy who didn't play high school football, who didn't play college football, makes it to the last round of cuts in an NFL team. Like, John, from an athletic standpoint, that sentence doesn't make any sense, does it?
None. These are the greatest athletes in the world, NFL football players. I mean, it's where the most money is. Where you follow the money, you follow the great athletes, and that's where the best athletes in the world are. And by the way, they're going to keep him on the practice squad. So he was going to make the team, not the 60-man roster or 65 or whatever it was back then, the total roster. But they were wanting to keep him because they understood this guy could be a future star. A guy who basically had no football experience was that good that he could go out there in the home of John Randall, 10-time All-Pro, and make it on an NFL team. And I say make it. They were going to keep him around. If he wanted to stay there, I think he'd have done great. But look, I'm telling you, the NFL is it's a specialty art. These old timers, I don't care how talented you are. You got to learn the game first. Brock would have learned it. And I think Brock would have been a major player in the NFL if he would have stayed. I think he chose not to stay because Minnesota would have kept him around. That to me is legendary. As anything he's done, that was pretty freaking amazing for a guy with very little football experience to impress NFL coaches so much that they want to keep you around and let you develop.
Yeah, as a guy who's never played the sport, it's unbelievable. But when that doesn't work out, he decides, okay, I'm going to go do some other stuff. So he actually tried 8 matches outside of the tent. He wrestled 8 times in Japan. And then when that seemingly has run its course, he decides, let's just try this MMA thing. He has what most people feel like was going to be a spectacle fight with Frank Mir, and Frank Mir catches him and taps him out. He comes back and redeems himself against Heath. But then the upset of all upsets, nobody imagined that he could beat a legend, an icon in mixed martial arts like Randy Couture. And he doesn't just beat him, he knocks him out, and he becomes the heavyweight champ. And boy, the entire industry changed. You want to talk about more eyeballs than ever before. Brock Lesnar was a crossover star, not just a quote unquote phony wrestler. Those critics forgot he was a badass NCAA champion. Yeah. But he reminded everybody that night. But when his UFC career was coming to an end, he made the leap to the WWF. He comes right back to WWE in 2012, where he's now winding it down 14 years later. And across that 14-year return, where he started on his return match with John Cena, he's going to play it all the way out until 2026. In 14 years, John, only 85 matches. I think when you talk about Brock Lesnar, I think maybe that second time, this last 14-year run, if we want to call it that, is he the definition of a big money player in pro wrestling history or what?
Are you kidding me? Absolutely. 100%. And by the way, that first fight, Bill, with Frank Mir, me and Undertaker flew out there, and Dana took great care of us. Let us sit front row to watch the fight. You know, I was just heartbroken. You know, Brock just made a mistake and got caught in a knee bar. You know, he made up for it, and, you know, in the second fight with Frank Mir. But, you know, Brock hadn't had diverticulitis. He might still be UFC champion. You know, I mean, that guy's a freak, man. And when you talk about 80-something matches in 14 years,
yeah.
I mean, Conrad, we used to have that in 3 months or 4 months. And for Brock, I've always said, for Brock to be able to wrestle so few times a year and have as great a matches as he had with as many different people, and he would get people over. Now, sometimes he's working with great talent. Sometimes he's working with up-and-coming talent, but he would get people over. I mean, it's absolutely unheard of. And you say big money player? Yeah. The stage never overwhelmed Brock Lesnar.
How much do you think Brock benefited from the competitive nature of Dana White and Vince McMahon? Because it does feel like when he comes back, he's not going to be working the old WWE schedule where he's running house shows in Topeka, Kansas. Like his first match back is with John Cena at a pay-per-view. It's Extreme Rules. And of course they put John Cena over. But then the next month, I mean, he's back again, or a few months later rather, he's back again working with Triple H at SummerSlam. I mean, when you run through, like, let's just run through his first several matches upon his return. Pay-per-view Extreme Rules, pay-per-view SummerSlam, pay-per-view WrestleMania, pay-per-view Extreme Rules, pay-per-view SummerSlam, pay-per-view Royal Rumble. He beat the streak at WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Night of Champions. Notice I'm not throwing in any house shows. I'm not referencing any Raws or SmackDowns. I'm not saying we didn't have him make appearances, but I'm saying Vince, upon his return to WWE, I feel like for the first time in a long time decided he's special. Let's make him an attraction. He almost got the Andre treatment. You're not going to see him wrestle unless you're getting it on pay-per-view. And I know the network changed some of that, but I feel like his positioning as an attraction paved the way for the Roman Reigns types of today, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think, you know, Andre comparison is the best thing out there. I think that's legitimate. You know, to see this freak, you know, before he left, you know, he was on the cover of the video game. He was the guy. I mean, he was the guy. And I think it really upset Vince that he left. You know, I remember when he's negotiating the one of those comebacks, all of a sudden he flies out to Vegas just to see Dana, just to see him, take a little picture with him right when he's in the middle of negotiation with Vince. And of course he got a big money deal from Vince. I don't know what it was, but that, you know, that was, he came back. So he got a big money deal. You know, Brock was a terrific negotiator, but I remember back, you know, way back when, you know, he first started with WWE, you know, I rode with him a little bit, not much, but I rode with some. I mean, I think it's me, Kurt and Brock were riding somewhere together. And I remember Brock was frustrated. He goes, man, just stop here. He stopped at McDonald's. He goes, I gotta get some food. I'm losing weight. You know, I don't think, and I can't speak for him, Conrad. So he didn't tell me this. I don't think Brock enjoyed being on the road, you know, like we were. I don't think he enjoyed it at all. So I think that schedule fit him perfectly. But at that time, he was not that guy that could demand that. You know, he went off and made this incredible name for himself. And all of a sudden now he's, you know, this two-sport star, and he's able to demand this workload that basically he works when he wants to work. And there's nobody like that. But he deserved it, because when he came in, he worked his ass off and he put guys over. He made guys look fantastic. And Brock was all about business. He never cared about, you know, who goes over, who goes under. He cared about business, cared about getting paid. And he did the right thing for business always. You know, I remember one time he's going to do something with me, and I said, Brock, just give me a bump or something. I was going to have a surgery or something, I think was what it was. And they wanted me, I was a commentator or something. And he goes, John, you're a former world champion. I'm not just going to give you a bump, because you got to get something. And, you know, it's just the way Brock thought. And I'm thinking, I'm a commentator. I'm going to put Brock over, you know, but that's the way Brock thought. He was a very generous guy, and he cared about the business. A very, very smart guy. And I tell you what, in my lifetimes, we never had a guy like Brock. We'll never have another.
One of a kind, Brock Lesnar, and what a year it's been. You know, it was a year ago that Goldberg had his last match. We've also since lost John Cena, AJ Styles, and now Brock Lesnar. I love the photo that John Cena posted on his Instagram, where you could see AJ Styles' glove and Brock Lesnar's glove. And this is just an end of an era in so many different ways. It's kind of bittersweet for me as a wrestling fan, because guys like this, you just kind of think, well, they're going to be around forever. And then you're like, what do you mean there's no more John Cena, or there's no more Brock Lesnar, or there's no more AJ Styles? That's just hard for me to wrap my head around.
Yeah, and I just saw a picture on Instagram of Shelton Benjamin, who looks better than ever, you know, and he's part of that crew, you know, and all of a sudden I sent him a note, said, please age. I mean, God almighty, man. I mean, I'm taking peptide. I'm doing everything I can to try to look as bad as I look. And that guy's just freaking looks like a statue right now. And he keeps getting better and better with age. But yeah, it kind of sucks, you know, that class of OVW. I saw a photo the other day, and obviously a meme had Randy Orton sitting there with Batista and Cena and Brock. And, you know, and Randy was highlighted a little different because he's the only one that's still currently doing stuff. Kind of like Sheldon. He looks better than he's ever looked. But what a class that was. That's got to be, I would think, the greatest class of all time.
We are sure glad that JR signed them all and that Jim Cornette got them ready. We're all better for it. Let's talk a little bit about Randy Orton. You brought him up. Randy Orton was recently.
Yep. Now I'd be remiss now to my broadcast partner, Mr. Briscoe. You know, he's the one that initially got Brock. So I'd be remiss to not to throw Mr. Briscoe's name in there for a little bit of the signing.
Well, God forbid I make a mistake. You just tell Mr. Ross that you disagree. And
no, I don't agree with Mr. Ross. He was the head of talent relations, and he did a wonderful job. I saw JR this weekend. I had a little dinner with him. It was really wonderful. It was wonderful to see my good friend JR.
I'm glad he's back on the road. That was his first public appearance after some health challenges. I'm glad he was out there.
And he sounded great. You know, he sounded great. You know, he's lost some weight, but you know, we all need to lose a little weight. We're all old. But he sounded great. He sat there and talked with me and Ron for a while, talked a little about football, about Oklahoma football. He's mad as at this team right now as I am with Texas right now, because we're fans. But it was great to talk to JR.
Let's talk a little bit about Randy Orton. He talks a little bit about the difference between the Triple H era and the Vince McMahon era. And of course, we know Randy Orton was a part of that 02 class, and boy, he got more than his time under the Vince McMahon regime. But Triple H has been in that seat for a few years now, and he was asked to compare the two. And he said, we get to go home and rest. You've been working hard for 3 years. Take a few weeks off. Oh, your daughter is being bored? Sure, you can take off. It is a different era, a different regime. How much of this do you think is just a change in philosophy from a corporate level? How much of this do you think is understanding, hey, as one of the boys like Triple H himself was, guys need a little time off and they'll stick around longer and have a happier, healthier life, but maybe a better attitude at work too. What do you think?
Yeah, and I don't know for sure because I don't want to discount what Triple H's influence that is in there, but obviously under Triple H it's different, and I don't know if that's corporate world is different or the wrestling world is different where you're not doing as many house shows, you don't need as guys as much. I mean, the roster is so freaking deep right now that you're able to give some guys some time off, but I think the mindset was different. I worked with Vince a lot, and basically you took off when you got hurt. I mean, you didn't take off. I mean, you didn't take off for nothing. It's just, and plus when you're hurt, you pretty much work hurt. It was just a different mindset. Vince didn't believe in time off. You rest when you're dead, as they used to say, as the old wrestler saying. And so I think it's a lot healthier. I think it's a lot better. Now, one thing that's important, not with Randy, because he's a great worker, but an agent now is one of the most important things in wrestling because guys are not having, several. Before we'd have a pay-per-view with somebody, we'd wrestle them probably 30 or 40 times leading up to that pay-per-view. We would try a million different things. So when we got out there, we pretty much knew what we couldn't do and what was in the bag and what would probably work. We didn't need agents. Agents weren't as important. But now, since you're not working as much, now not guys like Randy. Randy will never need one because he's come to that old school and he's such a great worker. But a lot of these guys that don't have that background, an agent is one of the most important things out there right now because of the new business paradigm.
Well, one of the most important things out there for you right now could be Blue Chew Gold. Today's episode, well, hell, all of our episodes are sponsored by Blue Chew because we want you to measure your days, not in minutes or hours, but in boners and rounds with your woman at Blue Chew Gold. Blue Chew Gold's better sex in a tablet. They've combined 4 ingredients into one powerful solution. 2 ingredients get you ready physically and 2 support arousal and desire in the brain. Blue Chew Gold works fast and it lasts, and now guys can have a complete experience in the bedroom with Blue Chew Gold. There's a reason Blue Chew is the #1 brand for better sex. Experience it for yourself right now at BlueChew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Right now, when you buy 2 months of Blue Chew Gold, you get the 3rd for free with the promo code WRESTLE. That's promo code WRESTLE. You'll also receive an additional 10% off plus free overnight shipping on your first order. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's pod and the bedroom. John, we haven't really talked to you a lot about WWE Unreal, but a lot of people have been unpacking this season. Have you had a chance to see any of Unreal this year?
Just clips of it. I haven't seen whole shows, but I haven't seen whole shows of it any year. I watch a lot of the clips, and I'm able to keep up with stuff that way.
So you don't support the program? You're not a fan of the program?
No, it's not that I don't support the program. No, I'm not a fan of the program. I don't like it at all.
Oh, that's what I was hoping you would say, because a lot of guys feel the same way you do. AJ Styles recently went on his podcast, The AJ Styles Show. Did you know that? The Phenomenal One has a podcast. It's called The AJ Styles Show. And he had a pretty hot take about WWE Unreal. Let's take a listen.
Here's my take on it. Do I like it? I do not. Because the outside hasn't earned the right to know what I know and be where I've been. They don't get the opportunity to get into the ring and hit the ropes as much as they would like to. They shouldn't get that opportunity. I paid a price, right? And it's something that I'm going to have to deal with for the rest of my life with these injuries that I've accumulated, the abuse that I put on my body. And a lot of other guys have done the same. So in my old school opinion, they don't deserve, they haven't earned the right to know what goes on, what is said, and all these things. And it's just my opinion. That's all it is. But if there's a way that they can make money off this, they're going to. And that's kind of where we're at in this business. It's when it comes to WWE and who is owning WWE, it's all about making money and finding ways to do that. That's what this is.
I think AJ's hit the nail on the head. I mean, there's a lot of fans who are listening to this program who can classify themselves as like insatiable wrestling fans. Like, we can't get enough of this wrestling content. And what we really want, we enjoy the product that's on the screen, but what we really want to know is what's behind the curtain. I mean, it's almost like if you and I were in a room and there's a button and it says, whatever you do, don't press this button. Even if there's a million other buttons, we're all kind of looking at each other like, well, what happens if we press it? Like, we become obsessed with knowing the thing we're not supposed to know. I think that's human nature. But AJ's coming out sort of against Unreal. I know that Paul Heyman has said on the show Unreal that he is not a fan of the show. I mean, I think that's interesting that WWE's putting a product out that seemingly so many people sort of inside the tent of WWE say, not a good idea, don't like it, ain't going to watch it, ain't going to support it. What do you think is the longevity of Unreal? Are there any downsides? Is it a negative? Is it a positive? I mean, certainly fans like it or they wouldn't keep doing it, John.
Well, of course they watch it. Apparently, it's a really good show. I've seen the clips of it. I mean, the thing's WWE produces great content, so it's a well-produced show. It was up for an award, right? I mean, it's an award-winning show, correct?
Yeah.
So the show apparently is really good from an entertainment perspective. I mean, really good. So as far as that, look, they've hit a home run. As far as the content, see, I'm not sure where. I like AJ, and I don't want to disagree with AJ, but I think I disagree with the fans deserve it or not. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't think fans should get it, and the reason is because I think it spoils things and it spoils your stars. You know, Conrad, I love baseball. I want to go see Barry Bonds back when he's in his prime because I can't hit 70 home runs. I couldn't hit 7. I couldn't hit .7. I want to see guys do stuff that I can't do. I want to see Aaron Judge hit a ball 500 feet. I mean, I want to see Skeens throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. I can't do that. And in wrestling, if you start pulling the curtain back and everybody's like, oh, they're just one of us. One of us don't draw money. Brock Lesnar draws money. Now AJ Styles draws money. But I think when you're doing this, I think it hurts the business. You know, you want guys to be stars. You don't want guys to realize, hey, the whole thing is manipulated. Look, we know it's a work, and I don't want to be one of these old guys who's against everything. So I've reserved judgment for it because something's working. I was just in Minneapolis. You know, they talk about, you know, ticket sales or whatever. They're putting 40,000 people back-to-back nights. That was unheard of during my day to do stuff like that. You know, so they're doing something right. Now, but I disagree with Unreal. I don't think the content out there is something that should be out there. Just because it's good content as far as entertainment, I'm not sure that you should put it out there. Again, I don't want to know that the dragon on Game of Thrones is CGI or whatever the hell it is. I know it is. I know it's not real.
Right.
I don't want to know how it works. I don't want to know how the elephant appears you know, when Siegfried and Roy were doing their stuff out at Vegas. I went to see their show a couple times. I remember I asked our guy Magic, you know, he used to work behind where he had in WWE because he was part of that fraternity with Copperfield and all those guys. I said, how did they do the elephant? He goes, 2 elephants. And I go, oh shit. And just ruined it for me. And now I don't want to see it, you know, because I know now how it works. And that's, I mean, to me, that's human nature. So that's my problem I have with Unreal.
Well, what we like is we can't always call it, and there's an interesting new wrinkle on WWE programming. Roman Reigns has a tournament, and it looks like there's going to be someone getting a shot against Roman Reigns, and it's going to happen on the September 14th, 2026 episode of Raw from Mexico City. This was teased on Monday Night Raw when we saw Rey Mysterio make the approach to Roman Reigns. And we're going to include the best luchadors from Raw, SmackDown, and AAA. Ray Phoenix has already taken to Instagram to say that he would like to face CM Punk at When Worlds Collide, and he hopes that his brother Penta gets to challenge Roman Reigns. I like this crossover vision and idea of WWE and AAA. Like, this is right in your wheelhouse, being one of the voices of AAA. You got to be fired up for this.
I'm thrilled with this. I thought this was fantastic. And it shows you, you know, obviously that one owns the other. So it's not like they don't work together. They obviously work together. But you see stuff like this and you realize the integration is great. You know, WWE has never been great about integrating different territories into them. You know, they've always screwed it up. You know, that's because of an old mindset, which you talked about a bunch with Vince, and for very good reason. But now I think what they're doing with AAA is just, I mean, it's fantastic, Conrad. I mean, I watch that show and I get feedback when I go around and people tell me how much they love the show. Jeremy Borash and Undertaker are doing a hell of a job. You know, I'm glad I'm privy to a lot of stuff that they do from behind the scenes so I can hear what they're saying, hear what they're talking about. They do an unbelievable job. You know, and think they're putting a product together that's just fantastic. I think it's the best show in wrestling. Now, Conrad, there's some things to it that help a lot. For one, you got characters that most of North America has not seen a lot of. So you got new characters, which is pretty cool. Those characters are starting to get integrated a lot into Raw and to SmackDown, so it gives them extra content. But also, Raw and SmackDown, WWE's got like 50-something hours of television a week they've got to do. That's tough. That's real. What they're trying to do is really, really tough. They have an hour a week. And so that's actually much easier. But even though it might be an easier format to have, they're doing it out. Jeremy and Taker are doing a freaking unbelievable, outstanding job. And Ray is as much as I wanted to be general manager, I was going to give tacos and beer away for free.
Will you stop?
I was going to give tacos and beer away for free on the roadside stands.
Don't do that.
Why wouldn't I do that? People would love me for that. Why wouldn't I do that? I was the GM of the Mexican show. Of course, I'm going to give stuff away for free. People love me.
Tacos. Come on, man. Why don't you give away some of that money? Why don't you give away some of that JBL cash?
Have you ever had some of those roadside tacos?
Rather have the mony. I know you wouldn't guess from looking at me, but rather have the money.
Macias, El Macias, from Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Good dude. He would bring me roadside tacos to the building because he knows how much I love them. He'd actually have them delivered sometimes because he knows I love those roadside tacos. They're like $1 a piece. They're freaking fantastic. Have you never had a roadside taco?
Yeah, I have. And how about this? I'm not for it. And you know why? Because my fat ass has a taste for flour tortillas, and they keep bringing me these corn tortillas. I don't want a real one. I want the bullshit I get in Alabama. I want a flour tortilla.
Okay, be xenophobic about Mexico. Sorry, I'm trying.
Whoa. I said I like flour, and you got heat. What's your heat with flour tortillas? You going to tell me a flour tortilla doesn't taste?
Because it's not from Mexico.
I don't live in Mexico, John.
Yeah, but when you go to Mexico, you don't have roadside tacos in fucking Alabama.
I do too. I got one right up the road here.
I'm calling you on that one. I do not believe that you have roadside tacos.
Yes, I'll post
in Alabama.
Yes, right up the road. Hey, I encourage you to just Google Albertville, Alabama, and get back to me. There's dozens of Mexican grocery stores there.
Yeah, but are there roadside tacos?
Which part of can you hear me? I keep saying yes. I will send you a picture.
I got my Rocky Maivia microphone. It's a Moana microphone. Look at there.
You're supposed to talk into the tip.
I bet you are, you little vixen.
Hey, so
yes, I was going to give fucking roadside tacos away for free with cerveza. What's wrong with that?
You can't give away free beer.
Would you stop?
That's illegal. You can't give away free beer. What if they're underage?
Well, they got to be able to drink responsibility at some time.
You need to be careful.
To like 10 or 11-year-olds. I wait till they were like 12 or 13 and then start giving them beer.
It ain't Memphis. You need to slow your roll. All right.
What do you mean?
Just move on. Let's move on.
What do you mean it ain't Memphis?
You know what I'm talking about.
Can you drink at 12 in Memphis?
Well, you telling me Jamie Dundee wasn't hitting the bottle at 12? Jamie Dundee was hitting the bottle in the second grade, and you know it.
There's not a doubt in the world that Jamie Dundee was doing that.
Let's talk a little bit about
the wreck he had with Wolfie D is still the greatest story ever. When neither one was driving and they got it on cruise control.
It's in the archives. Check it out. It's somethingtowrestle.com.
Jamie Dundee is batshit crazy, and yes, he was drinking. I think at 12,
and probably drinking right now, if I had to guess.
I would imagine.
It was really funny when he bragged to us that he's been sober for 13 years and then drinking a beer. But whatever.
Right.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about The Undertaker. He's laying out his vision for AAA, and he says he wants a completely different product from Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. He wants something different from everyone else. And he even lays out sort of the origin story for him and Jeremy Borash with the El Grande Americano versus original El Grande Americano story. But he says that it was Kaiser and Chad Gable who took the idea to a whole different level. He says, there were some highly motivating speeches I gave to both of them before they would go out. I would reiterate to them how important what they're about to go out and do is, not only for AAA, but for their personal careers, trying to motivate them to do things differently and be more edgy, more aggressive, more violent, right? It took a while for that to kind of set in and for them to see my vision. He shared this on Insight with Chris Van Vliet. And I know that Undertaker has his critics out there. And when he says something like this, I'm sure they may take issue with it. Had it not been for Chad Gable just a few weeks ago saying, I thought I had wrestling figured out. And I had one conversation with The Undertaker and it changed instantly. And they had what you called the greatest match you've ever called. A man who has called a ton of WrestleManias, major history-making moments in WWE, and you said their match was the absolute best. But I love that Gable said, man, one conversation with The Undertaker, I don't think a lot of people had this on their bingo card. A lot of times you hear guys who say, hey, the top guys don't always make the best trainers because they can't really articulate what made them special. They could do it, but they couldn't talk about it, sort of thing. A guy that was really great and universally loved like Bobby Eaton comes to mind. But when The Undertaker drops this knowledge on Chad Gable and they create an absolute masterpiece, boy, that may have been the missing piece for a lot of talent. I love to hear these positive remarks that The Undertaker is really helping the next generation, John.
Yeah, and you're right about sometimes great players are not great coaches. You know, I've talked to Ron a lot because, you know, Ron's friends with Deion Sanders, obviously both went to Florida State and, you know, both jerseys retired there. You know, and I always wondered about Deion. You know, was he going to be a great coach? Because you always wondered about him playing corner. He had more athletic ability than anybody else on the field. And so you didn't know if he was playing based upon just pure athletic ability or if he really knew the game. Now, once he got to Colorado, you realize, and when he first started coaching, you realize this guy knows the game. He's a great coach. But you don't know that. You don't know if Jordan's going to be a great coach. You don't know if Bird's going to be a great coach. Bird ended up being a great coach. Jordan, we've never seen him coach. We don't know. And same thing with great wrestlers. You know, sometimes you just have so much athletic ability and so much you have this innate charisma in you that allows you to get over. You can't explain it and you can't articulate it. Undertaker can. You know, he's an incredibly smart human being. He's an incredibly good guy, but he's a guy that can explain how to get over, what to do to get over, and what a good match is. You know, there's a world of difference, and I give Chad Gable so much credit for this. You know, Kaiser did a wonderful job. What he did with learning the language, becoming part of the culture. Like I say, he learned Mexican. He didn't learn, you know, Spanish from Rosetta Stone. He learned how to speak the local language. And it just amazing thing that he did. But when you talk about Chad, we had this discussion. Chad being this stereotypical heel in the varsity squad or whatever that little group he was in, where you're just campy type heel, that's a world of difference from carrying a main event in Mexico where people want to stab you before you get out of the building because it is an old blood and guts type territory. And it's not even the same business. Taker has this conversation with Chad, and the first match he had was with Penta. La Parca after that. And Chad's working the ankle and just keeps working. It keeps going back to it. Something happens, Chad goes back to it. Something happens, he kicks him, goes back to the ankle. And I'm sitting there calling the match going, I've never seen Chad like this. This is freaking brilliant. I remember sending a note to Jeremy and Taker. I didn't know Taker had this conversation with him. I said, brilliant. I mean, Chad is different freaking level than what he was a month ago. And that's just a matter of a great, brilliant mind in Undertaker and Jeremy getting a hold of these guys and explaining to them what they need. And I think it's an incredible opportunity for people. You know, Chad could have gone along and still made money, and all of a sudden you realize this guy might be on a level by himself in the world. It's an amazing thing. And a lot of that is due to Undertaker, and deservedly so. You mentioned there's some pushback on Undertaker. What's the pushback?
Well, he's got his critics out there. I'm sure some of it is based on his political beliefs, or, you know, what does he know about booking, or all the negative Nancy stuff on the IWC. But when you hear the guys saying, like Chad Gable, who everybody agrees is on the run of his career right now. Yeah. And when he says, man, it was a conversation with Undertaker that really started this, it's like, wow, what an endorsement from a guy who's doing it. Not from, you know, we read it on a website, we heard about it in a newsletter, they talked about it on a podcast, straight from the horse's mouth. I'm just so happy for the Undertaker.
Yeah, and you talk to guys. Was it Mulligan was the one that pulled Flair aside, said, what are you going to do in the next 6 minutes to make a difference and differentiate you from everybody else? You know, sometimes when somebody talks to you, Jake Roberts pulled me aside when I first got, had a good relationship with Grizzly. I didn't know I didn't know the background of Grizzly. I've always got to say that, but Grizzly was very nice to me when he was helping Akbar book in Texas. And so Jake knew that, and Jake really helped me a lot. He came up to me one day and he goes, "Man, John, you had a great match." And I said, "Well, thanks, Jake." He goes, "Yeah, tell Akbar I said hi when you get back to Texas." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Why would I go back to Texas?" He said, "Because you're not here to have great matches. You're here to get over." And that light bulb turned on my head that day. And I realized I started seeing wrestling different. I started seeing matches different. I started seeing storylines different and cards different. And, sometimes it just takes a really smart, and Jake, anybody who says anything about Jake will tell you he's brilliant. And he was willing to share that with me. And that's pretty cool that he was. But sometimes it just takes something from an older guy who has that knowledge to be able to share that with you. And that's what happened with Chad.
We've got some unfortunate news I want to cover. I don't know that we've talked about this, but Too Cold Scorpio recently pled guilty, and he's in a little bit of trouble. The trial was supposed to start on August 3rd. He's now going to be sentenced on October 9th of this year, and it all traces back to an incident in June of 2024. The real-life Too Cold Scorpio and another man got into a scuffle at Love's Travel Stops. Of course, the real-life Scorpio was working there as a security guard. This was the middle of the night, like 3 a.m. I guess Scorpio told the customer to put out a lit cigarette. The man tells the authorities he thought he did put the cigarette out, but he walked into the building and it was still lit. Scorpio was not happy about that. There was a scuffle. These guys got into it. And sadly, Scorpio pulled a knife from his pocket and stabbed the fella. As the story goes, the wrestler said the altercation went on for several more moments, and in the squabble, he got a few more stabs in too. Cops say they arrived on the scene and they found the guy who was stabbed lying on the ground, bleeding from his head, chest, buttocks, legs, and abdomen. He was transported to a local hospital. He was in and out of consciousness. This was a bad situation, and we know that Scorpio was the aggressor in the situation. He's found himself pleading guilty. He's going to be sentenced October 9th, 2026. I wasn't there. You weren't there. Boy, it doesn't sound good. It doesn't read good. I hope that this story has a happy ending, but it's hard to find something to be positive about with this story right now, John.
Yeah, and we don't know Scorpio was the aggressor, right? I mean, he was a security guard. He asked him to do something, and, according to Scorpio, he didn't do it. And then a fight broke out, and shit happens when a fight breaks out, right? So it wasn't.
Yeah. We don't know.
What's that?
We don't know exactly what's going on, but we know he's charged with first-degree assault and armed criminal action. So
Scorpio is my friend. I love him, and I wish him the very best. And I hate this whole thing happened. He's working as a security guard. A guy I don't know what happened, but the guy is supposed to do something. And Scorpio thought he didn't do it. A fight breaks out, it's early in the morning and shit happens. And what do you do in a fight? You fight to win. And Scorpio's a tough dude, and he fought to win. And, I don't know what all went around it, but I hope nothing happens to Scorpio, because he's a friend of mine and he's a good dude. And Scorpio's not a guy who looks for trouble. I've been around him a lot. I've been around him way back in the day for 30 something years. Scorpio's not a guy who looks for trouble. And I just have a hard time believing that, Scorpio was the one that, instigated this. It doesn't sound like he was, but no matter what, he's my friend, and I wish him the very best, because I love the dude.
He is going to avoid going to trial. I hope that this story has a happy ending some way or another. I don't know what that is, but man, you just hate to read a story like this. Yeah. It just doesn't feel like it's true. And I think everybody my age grew up just absolutely loving Too Cold Scorpio.
Oh.
I mean, a guy his size able to do what he was able to do. We were all entertained. I hate to hear that, wrestling wasn't able to, I don't know, maybe take better care of their own to where he wasn't in that position. I hate to even say that, but clearly some poor decisions were made, and the price is going to be paid now. But our thoughts and prayers with both sides. I mean, there's no winner in this scenario. Like, it's just sadness all around.
Yeah, and I saw Scorpio recently. I mean, 2 or 3 months ago. I'm bad with time. Me and Ron saw him somewhere. We hung out with him for a while, and he was talking about this. About he didn't know what would happen, and he wasn't sure. Obviously, I wish Scorpio, my friend, the very best. And Scorpio, talk about changing the business. I mean, when he and Benoit had that match back around '94 or whatever it was, you want to watch a match that changed the world, man. I mean, you had RVD and Sabu and ECW who were changing the world also, but that match there, man, people had never seen the stuff that they were doing. I mean, that Scorpio was such an incredible worker. I mean, you had to be out there with him. I worked with Scorpio a lot. What a guy could go, man. I mean, it's unbelievable how good he was. But that match he had with Benoit, I think it was around '94. That match he had, that changed the business because people could not believe what those two guys were doing, and specifically Scorpio.
Well, I want to give you some good news. Your old pal Dave Bautista, it's in the headlines. Deadline is reporting he's in talks to play Kratos in the live-action God of War series. Boy, if you're just taking a look over at somethingtowrestle.com, I could see it. Grow a beard, throw some face paint on. We're halfway there.
No kidding. Unbelievable. How about Dave, man? The guy can do anything with his body. I mean, he gets huge, he gets skinny, he gets big again. I mean, what unbelievable. I don't know what his diet's like. I've known Dave a long time. I could not be more happy for Dave Bautista. I mean, here's a guy who couldn't get an agent. Nobody believed in him. He believed in himself. He almost went bust. Couldn't pay his bills, and now he's one of the biggest stars in the world, and nobody deserves it more than Dave. I'm very, very happy for Dave.
Well, you're going to be very, very happy with Quince too. We all know that Dave Bautista is a sharp and snappy dresser, and you can be too. As a reminder, August is the perfect time to hit the reset before the autumn rush begins, and I can't think of a better place for you to start your closet than Quince. You're going to love shopping at Quince. Quince is all about fewer, better pieces. Their clothes are made with premium materials that are built to last, and they're designed to become the ones that you reach for day after day. What Quince really specializes in are those everyday staples that work harder, like their ultra soft organic cotton tees and their premium Mongolian cashmere sweaters. They're versatile, timeless, and they transition seamlessly from a casual workday to dinner out. And if you're still hanging on to the same worn out basics, I want you to know Quince makes it so easy to upgrade. They've got the premium denim. They've got the tailored chinos, all from just $60 with the kind of perfect fit, structure, and high quality fabrics that you'd expect from a luxury designer brand. Everything at Quince is priced like 50 to 80% less than similar brands. And how do they do it? Well, they work directly with ethical factories and they cut out the middlemen. So you're paying for high quality, not the brand markup. And don't just take my word for it. If you go over to quince.com right now, what you're going to see is a button that says $50 cashmere. And I know what you're thinking. Those two words have never touched, but they do at Quince because it's not just clothing. Quince has something for everybody. I'm talking to you, dude. I'm also talking about your lady. It can even be your go-to for everything from hotel quality bedding and bath essentials. They even got premium cookware and travel must-haves. But what they're all about is delivering value. I can't think of a better example than that $50 cashmere button. I know it sounds too good to be true, but you got to go check it out. Upgrade your everyday. Download the Quince app. For exclusive offers, go to quince.com/wrestle. Get free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. And hear me now available in Canada and the UK too. That's quince.com/wrestle. That's QUINCE.com/wrestle. John, it's time for us to fight. I know I'm going to lose. I know you're going to clothesline me from hell. I know it's going to be bad. I know I'm going to be in a full body cast when it's done. But you and I, more often than not, we share similar opinions on wrestling. But I had a hot take on 83 Weeks this week with Eric Bischoff. And as I logged in on my way home from the mortgage office today on Thursday afternoon, I found that a lot of the aggregators have found a clip and they have decided that they are not too happy with me. Have you seen this, John?
What are aggregators?
Well, it's all the different websites that cover things that are happening in wrestling.
Oh, I got you. And they put your stuff out.
Yeah, and so there, Conrad Thompson says this. Eric Bischoff says that sort of thing. Well, normally, I'm not the guy who is ever critical of anything that's happening on current programming. What I try to do is be a positive in wrestling and say something nice. And if I don't have anything nice to say, I usually just keep it to myself, unless it's about old stuff. And I'm meaning specifically when I'm being critical of performers. But I did have a criticism for the highest paid performer in the history of pro wrestling, for a fella who between last year and this year will make more in those 2 years than Ric Flair made in his entire career. I called Roman Reigns the most overrated main eventer in WWE history. And now the internet has collectively taken a stance. A few people agree with me, but it seems like the overwhelming majority have decided that I am an idiot. and I understand that, and I'm glad to defend my position. But here's where it comes from. I enjoyed their match with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns on Sunday night. I thought it was probably the best match of the weekend. But I was basically saying I'm kind of ready to move on. And it does feel like after Saturday night when Obafemi retires Brock Lesnar and it's the main event, that from the outside looking in, unless Helicopter Rock comes back for Saudi Arabia WrestleMania, the WrestleMania next year is probably going to be Oba and Roman Reigns. But there's just a sense of sameness for me. And I say that because right now Roman Reigns has 11 WrestleMania main events. And a lot of his super supporters have decided, well, he's the greatest of all time. But when I go online and I say, hey, where's Brock Lesnar? Because you mentioned it last week on the show. Maybe not enough people are appreciating Brock's real place in wrestling. He's not often included in things like the Mount Rushmore conversation. You brought that up last week. And when I asked my Twitter followers, hey, it's Conrad on Twitter, hey, where do you guys think? Is he in the Mount Rushmore conversation? Why or why not? Well, I heard these criticisms about, well, he couldn't cut a promo. He had Paul Heyman do it. He was a part-timer, all kinds of negativity. And I asked myself, why does Roman get a pass? I don't understand. Like, I feel like there's so much revisionist history about Roman Reigns these days. I think we forget that the thing that Triple H recently said on Unreal about we don't want to push Braun Breaker down their throats, Vince McMahon did that for Roman Reigns in 2014 and 2015 and 2016 and 2017. Like, I think people just forget that he was booed out of the building at his first WrestleMania main event against Brock Lesnar. Seth Rollins cashed in, stole the title, and it became, the greatest heist in WrestleMania history or whatever it was, but it was a great story. But they didn't want to see Roman in that spot. And they continued it the next year with him and Hunter in the main event. And it was terribly reviewed. Fans didn't like it. They didn't want to see it. They weren't into it. And in the following year at WrestleMania, not even for the title at 17, he beat The Undertaker in what most people described as not a great match. And Undertaker even took his hat and boots off. And we felt like, well, is that the end? Even Undertaker wasn't happy with that match. And he came back and did the whole finale with AJ. But the night after the Undertaker match, I don't know if you recall, you may have even been there. In 2017, he got 8 minutes of being booed out of the building. Like, he's the only babyface champion and main eventer and top guy I ever remember in WWE history where the boos were so loud they had to turn the volume down. And I know some people would be critical and they would say, well, they were booing John Cena too. It was polarizing. Yeah, but they didn't turn the volume down. And it's hard for me to wrap my head around the idea that Roman Reigns is the greatest of all time. I'm not saying that he hasn't been successful. I'm not saying that the matches aren't good. I'm just saying, and hear me out now, if you give anybody the Bob Holly treatment, and longtime Something to Wrestle listeners would know, Bob Holly once pitched Bruce Prichard on, I got an idea. Why don't you give me the belt? And then what? Then I beat everybody. Well, if you give a guy the belt, and he beats everybody, and he never loses, and you put him with the greatest promo in the history of ever in Paul Heyman, the shit might work out. But I'm apparently an idiot. So set me straight here, John.
Well, you had Arnie Scotland with Bruno at one point, too. So having a manager doesn't necessarily discredit a guy from being one of the greatest of all time just because you have a manager. And just because that manager can talk as well as anybody in the history of the business, maybe you have the greatest team. I mean, why do you dislike Roman?
Oh, I don't see that. I'm so glad you asked that. I don't dislike him at all. I guess what I'm saying is, did you ever watch the movie The Usual Suspects?
No.
Okay, so in the movie The Usual Suspects, here's a spoiler. It's 30 years old, whatever. The Kevin Spacey character is telling a story to the cops about this mythical villain named Kaiser Sose. And at some point, he says the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is convincing the world he didn't exist. I think Roman Reigns' success is the greatest trick Paul Heyman ever pulled. I think that the career of Roman Reigns, that apparently so many people have forgotten about, is a tale of two Romans. There's pre-Paul Heyman and there's post-Paul Heyman. And I feel like there's Leakey, as we saw him in developmental. And I'm not saying that everybody can't develop and get better. Hell, they're supposed to. But I'm just saying the reality is he was not being cheered or loved or beloved as a main eventer or, I mean, even as a part of the Shield. I mean, he was not the guy. And of course, in 2014, before Punk left, his marching orders in the Royal Rumble directly from Vince are, hey, go get him over. Go get Roman, put Roman over strong, make him look strong. And 12 years later, we're still doing that. And clearly it's working. WWE's enjoying great success, but I don't understand how we don't give the credit for that to Paul Heyman. I think we would all agree. I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong. Are the Usos one of the most decorated tag teams in WWE history? One of the more entertaining tag teams of all time? Yes or no? Are the Usos that?
Yes.
All right. Is Paul Heyman now unequivocally the all-time number one? Once upon a time, there was a debate about, is it Cornette? Is it Bobby Heenan? But in the context of WWE, I think Paul Heyman is head and shoulders above every other manager and talker in history. Would you agree with that?
I don't see how you could disagree with that. So yeah, I'm not slighting Paul at all. I'm just trying to think of anybody that would be in that category. And Heenan was awesome. Jimmy Hart was awesome. Scotland, by the way, was terrific. I don't see how you could disagree with Heyman being the greatest.
So I'm just saying, if you've got, and by the way, let's just give credit where it's due. The Bloodline storyline, one of the best storylines in WWE history. Nobody's debating that. I'm not arguing that. But man, was Sami Zayn like the low-key MVP at different times over the last 4 or 5 years? Like a scene stealer. Like if they gave television awards for wrestling like they do for scripted drama, this guy would have won countless Emmy awards and nominations. I mean, Sami Zayn was the unsung hero of that storyline at times. Don't you agree?
I agree, yes.
So hear me out. WWE decided we're going to put Roman Reigns in this spot, and then he's there. It's not like, man, this guy got over organically on his own. We can't ignore it. We're going to push him to the moon. They booed the shit out of him, and our solution was, hey, they're booing. Oh, well, let's turn the volume down. I mean, Vince McMahon deserves the credit for seeing it through. He was right. Roman Reigns is a star. That's not debatable. But when I call him an industry plant, which is a music term, that this guy didn't just make a hit record and then everybody rushed out and got it. WWE wanted to make a top guy and they made a top guy. But are you telling me they couldn't have put Cesaro at the shoulder of Paul Heyman and Sami Zayn and the Usos and it worked? I think it's interchangeable. I think it could have easily worked. But to compare him to a guy like Hulk Hogan, who only has 8 WrestleMania main events, and the whole show was built on his back versus Roman with 11, well, Roman fans would say, well, Roman Reigns was more important to WWE than Hulk Hogan. He's got more. And it's like, wait a minute, what? And even John Cena, yes, he was polarizing. He got a split reaction. He also came out by himself. He didn't have a tag team. He didn't have a scene stealer. He didn't have the GOAT beside him in Paul Heyman. I just don't understand why when I say, hey, Roman Reigns, who, by the way, I'm not picking on, highest paid performer in history, I think it's a fair criticism to say, I'm ready for something new. I think I've seen enough of this. I'm ready to move on. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm not saying Roman go away, but we take 12 minutes to get to the ring. We wrestle 8 times a year. He's the top guy. We got the chili pepper necklace. I get it.
So people got tired of Bruno too at one point. But yes. I don't think that discounts Bruno as being one of the GOATs of all time, greatest of all time, does it?
Well, here's the difference. I think Bruno gets in that conversation because he had a consecutive string of sellouts at Madison Square Garden. That's the reason we remember him so fondly. Would you agree with that?
One of the reasons, yeah, but not the reason. No, one of the reasons, yeah.
What's the reason that Bruno is the legend then?
Because you needed somebody that could carry the WWE from Buddy Rogers and the old NWA breaking away and put the entire company on someone's back to carry that company to fight the territories, and Bruno was the guy.
Well,
I think Bruno's status in wrestling, he's one of the pillars. Whether he's one of the GOATs, whether he's the GOAT, I don't know, but he's one of the pillars of wrestling, and he changed the tide of wrestling because he was such a big draw in New York City.
And do you think Roman is the Bruno equivalent? Is that what you're suggesting?
We've never seen dominance. We never thought we'd see dominance like Bruno until we saw Roman. And you mentioned that the people sat out there and booed for 8 minutes without a break. Name another character in the last 20 years that people would do anything for 8 minutes. And
wait. You think they were booing him because they didn't like him and he was a heel? He was a babyface, John.
I know it, but it's at least it's a reaction. I'm talking about it's a reaction.
So us hating something is a good thing.
Yeah, but will people come to see him lose? I don't give a shit if he called him a baby face or a heel. He's a draw. And Roman is the face of the company in the most profitable era in wrestling history. Conrad, I never dreamed you'd have $1 billion TV contracts. I never dreamed
whoa. They're the most profitable era because of something he did or because of something Nick Khan did?
Yeah, but I'm talking about because both. I don't think you can separate them.
You don't think Nick Khan can negotiate that contract without Roman Reigns?
I think Roman Reigns helps, just like Hulk Hogan helped with WrestleMania 1.
You're comparing Hulk Hogan and WrestleMania 1 to anything Roman Reigns ever did?
Yes. Yeah, he's the top guy. He's the top guy.
Oh, John.
If business is the shit, you blame the top guy. If business is good, you give the top guy credit to some degree or not. Is Nick Khan one of the greatest executives? He's one of the greatest executives in the freaking world. He's not just wrestling. Yeah, Nick Khan's brother. That man's a genius. But Roman is the guy that's spearheading the ship. Now, is he surrounded by a lot of great talent? Absolutely. So was Hogan. So was San Martino.
Oh my God! Will you stop with Hogan?
What do you mean? Will I stop with Hogan?
To compare Hulk Hogan and Roman Reigns is a fallacy. Roman Reigns wrestled 7 times last year, 6 times in 2024. What are we talking about?
Are you saying Roman doesn't deserve any credit for what's going on in wrestling?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm not. First of all, I challenge that he's the guy. I don't know if that's the case, because if we're talking about drawing money, they sold more tickets on night 1 than they did on night 2. So if we're going to go with money, I just don't know that that's the case. I don't know one person who wears a Roman Reigns t-shirt. I bet if we went down to the Walmart and I said, hey man, Hulk Hogan, John Cena, Roman Reigns, if I said name a wrestler, I don't know how many we'd go through before we heard Roman Reigns.
You don't think the top guy in the business doesn't deserve a majority of the credit?
Wait a minute. Who decided he's the top guy? Who decided he's the top guy?
He's main evented more WrestleManias than anybody in history. How is he not the top guy?
That means
he's main eventing everything. How is he not the top guy? He comes back. He's main event. How is he not the top guy?
He's the top guy because WWE decided that he was, not the fans. That's my point. I don't know how
they have the option of turning on him if they want and not buying tickets. They're still buying tickets when Roman's headlining things.
You mean the 7 matches he wrestled last year or the 6 in 2024? Like, what are we talking about? Like, I'm saying when you think about, and I'm not going to take much more of this nonsense from you.
Oh my God.
When you think about
freaking Roman hater.
I'm not a Roman. I think
you are. You're a goddamn Roman hater.
Hang on. Did I not give a ton of credit to Brock Lesnar an hour ago and say he was one of the biggest big money players in WWE history? And he was here 14 years and had 84 matches. I was high fives all around for that. But it's interesting to me that nobody has that conversation about Brock Lesnar like he's the GOAT, but we immediately do for Roman. And I ask myself, if Paul Heyman never came into Roman's life, what does his career look like? I'm not taking any credit away from his accomplishments intentionally. I'm simply saying, let's give credit where credit's due. This is the Paul Heyman gift. This is a gift from Paul Heyman.
So
Paul
if you
Heyman.
had some little campy group that Sami Zayn was still as charismatic with instead of Roman Reigns, would it had been as effective? No,
Buddy.
it's because you're playing off of Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman.
You put Matt Cardona standing right there with that chili pepper necklace with the Usos and Sami Zayn and Paul Heyman, and it works just fine.
You think Matt Cardona draws just as much as Roman Reigns?
I don't know what Roman Reigns draws. I don't know the answer to that.
Conrad, how can he not sit there and just go over his resume and say, here's what I've highlighted, here's what happened when I first started main eventing, and here's what happened now with TV contracts now after I've been main eventing this entire time. Now, is he the only one? Absolutely not. There's a great loaded roster of incredible talent in there, but Roman's the top guy.
Show me the TV contract that he negotiated, and I'll give him the credit. But that's
show me the TV contract Hogan negotiated. He negotiated. So some of the TV contracts Stone Cold negotiated. He didn't negotiate it.
Buddy, television networks called and asked to have Hulk Hogan on their program. Do you think the idea that you're comparing Hulk Hogan and Roman Reigns is the part that gives me heartburn? It's nonsense.
No, I'm comparing the analogy of Hogan was the top guy, Roman's the top guy. And Roman has had actually more WrestleMania main events than Hogan, by the way.
How many, when he was a babyface, did they boo him out of the building? I'm just asking.
Who cares? He headlined it. I mean, you think he's walking?
You're saying he headlined it like he won something. So it was arbitrarily decided and given to him. You don't.
And you're saying Hogan headlined it like he won something?
He was the attraction. Everybody paid to see. Hulk Hogan was larger than life. Everybody.
But Roman's in that spot, and you're going, "Oh, Roman doesn't draw nothing. He just happens to be in the same spot."
Again, this is why I take issue with it. The idea that we're comparing the two is laughable. Like, do you think the legacy for Roman Reigns will be anywhere near a Stone Cold or a Hulk Hogan? To me, the idea that conversation even exists is silly. It's not real.
How can you not make the argument that Roman Reigns, as the main event guy, has overseen the greatest profit in the history of wrestling?
He had nothing to do with that. Let's look at his merch sales. Let's look at his ticket sales.
Are you saying Hogan had nothing to do with it? He was oversaw. He's saying Stone Cold had nothing to do with it. Wait a minute. Rock had nothing to do with it. Cena had nothing to do with it.
Look at the dates they worked. I'm saying, here's all I'm saying. If we're going to
get picking and choosing, you're cherry picking. Go, oh, it meant something when Hogan was it. It meant something when Stone Cold was it. It doesn't mean anything when Roman does it.
Hogan did it by himself. Austin did it by himself. John Cena did it by himself. When Roman did it by himself, we fucking booed his ass out of the building. That is a fact. We said he appears on screen one time with Paul Heyman, and instantly we all decide we change our mind. And we disagree.
What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it. But I'm saying to compare it to individual guys is silly. All I'm saying is
Brock went out with Roman Reigns too. I mean, with Brock went out with Paul Heyman also.
I'm not arguing that. But people don't give Brock credit the way they do Roman. And I'm just saying, hey, why is that? What is the difference? But you, my friend, you know what you are? You're full of
suffering succotash, son.
I mean, that's what you're full of.
I didn't realize you're such a freaking Roman Reigns hater.
I'm not.
You are.
I'm not.
You're like one of them typical guys behind your little screen going, "Oh, I don't like Roman Reigns. He's not as good as that."
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
That's what you're.
Here's what I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this now, and I'll say it in a loud and clear voice. Roman Reigns is a much better wrestler than JBL.
Whoa!
What? Well, hang on now. Wait a minute. When you look at the television contracts that he personally negotiated and the revenue that he personally drew,
he didn't negotiate the TV contracts, but neither did any other top guy in history.
Then stop saying the TV contracts. That was your argument, not mine.
No, my argument is that he's oversaw that. He's the top guy. He's not negotiating the contracts.
He didn't.
There's also a lot of other great talent there at WWE that are responsible for it also, but he's the top guy.
And I'm sure all 7 shows that he wrestled on last year were very successsul. But this past weekend in Minneapolis, when people are shitting on me in the comments saying, "Oh,
he's a better wrestler than me," did you see my match I had with the Boogeyman?
I haven't seen that. That is a fair point. You're spitting a lot of facts right now. I do need to review the footage, but I'll tell you this. Here's something you do have over Roman that he doesn't have. Never seen him beat a lizard, not once.
Damn right. Damn right. I walked into Tokyo, the home of Godzilla, and I whooped that lizard's tail. JBL, just be a lizard.
I want to say it in a loud and clear voice. Roman Reigns has done nothing wrong. The real life guy is a great guy. He negotiated a great deal for himself. He's got the wrestler life exactly like he likes it. But I, as a fan, am entitled to have my opinion. And I can say, respectfully, as we say in the South, not my favorite. Ready for something new. Ready to move on. But what I really want to say is Paul Heyman deserves more credit, and people are overlooking his value and contribution to the whole
I got
thing.
no problem with that.
Yeah.
Heyman's awesome.
Heyman's the GOAT. That's the reality. And what does Roman's career look like without Heyman? I don't know. It ain't the same.
But Heyman tried also with some people that didn't necessarily work.
Well, let's talk about that, because I know where you're going to go. You're going to say Cesaro, and he was with
I'm
Cesaro.
not saying Cesaro. I like Cesaro. I'm not saying Cesaro.
But here's what I'm saying. You compare Roman Reigns promos pre and post Paul Heyman. If you're going to be with Paul Heyman and under his wing and stand at his shoulder and cut promos for 6 years, of course you're going to get better as a promo. Of course your character is going to be enhanced. My point is WWE could have independently picked a lot of handsome guys in great shape who were coachable and reliable and put them in the Roman Reigns spot. I mean, that was CM Punk's marching orders in 2014 when he's just a member of the Shield. Get Roman over strong, make him look strong. And Vince starts pushing him down our throats, and he shit the bed at WrestleMania in 31, 32, 33. Just abysmal. And by the way, when he sits next to Paul Heyman, the next year, he's not in the middle of the pack at WrestleMania. He's in the main event, and everybody loves him. It's a tale of two Romans. Paul Heyman's the secret sauce, and he's convinced the world that he's the GOAT because Paul Heyman said it. That's why we believe it. But
maybe
it's not
they
real.
need each other, you Roman Reigns hater.
He didn't need Roman Reigns. He did it for Punk and he did it for Brock. You just said that. All I'm saying is if you think that what I'm saying is false, then it disqualifies what Paul Heyman has done. And I say that's not true.
No, it doesn't. That has got to be the silliest thing I've ever heard in my life.
They're going to talk about Logan Paul one day, and fans are going to clip this, and they're going to shit on it. But because of his association with Paul Heyman, if Paul Heyman invests his time, effort, and energy in you, you become a made man in pro wrestling. That's my point. But everybody has decided that I'm a Roman hater, and I'm not. I'm not at all. I'm so glad that he's making a pile of cash. I'm so glad that he's got a great schedule. I think that's great for the industry. It's great for the boys. It's great for the talent. But it's also very lucky that he was paired with Paul Heyman, in my opinion.
No, I think it's a great team. I don't have any problem with that. It's
Well,
like,
then
saying, it's like saying, oh, Joe Montana would not be a great quarterback without Jerry Rice. He happened to play with him. And because they did, they both made each other better.
Are we agreeing very loudly now? Is that what we're doing? We're agreeing loudly?
No, we're not agreeing. You're a Roman Reigns hater. And
I'm not a hater.
You are a hater. You're
What?
one of them hater people. You're like on your phone going, they're like Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is dick.
I enjoyed all 7 of his matches last year. I enjoyed all 6 the year before. He's on a generational run of the best half dozen matches a motherfucker can have in the main event. But I will say, if you give Bob Holly, Paul Heyman, the Usos, Sami Zayn, a 12-minute entrance, the belt, and he never loses, the shit might work out.
It could have. Bob was a good worker.
Well, there you go. So we agree. Roman Reigns, Bob Holly, same. There's your headline. It's a quote directly from JBL.
No, we don't know that. We don't know what would have happened.
And I was advocating for our great close personal friend, Matt Cardona, and said that you could have put him in that spot and it would have been fine. And you disagreed. You don't think Cardona is a good wrestler. True or false?
I like Matt. I think he's a great wrestler.
That's what you said. You said,
I did
"Oh,
not
don't know
say
about
that. No, you're busy hating on Roman Reigns. Go, that dude like Roman Reigns.
Buddy, Roman Reigns has had phenomenal matches. By the way, he's done everything that's asked of him. He's checked every box. He's accomplished every record. I'm ready for something new. My fear is a lot of people felt like when Roman first got the push. I'm not talking about now, post Heyman. I'm talking about 15, 16, 17, when they were booed him out of the fucking building. And he's in the main event, and he's the world champ for no goddamn reason whatsoever. By the way, people have made comparisons to him and Triple H. I'm not saying that that's the case, but I will say Triple H, when he was at Shawn Michaels' elbow and DX pops off, hugely successful. When he's with Road Dogg and the New Age Outlaws, hugely successful. When he's with Ric Flair and Batista and Randy Orton, hugely successful. Then we get to the Reign of Terror era and he's by himself, and wrestling fans to this day talk about how fucking terrible and shitty it was. Now put that thing down, flip it and reverse it, and it's Roman Reigns. That's exactly what it is. Triple H is closer. Roman Reigns is closer to Triple H than he is Hulk Hogan. And by the way, Triple H, look at what he's doing in wrestling right now. You can't say what what Triple H is doing right now is not incredibly valuable and unbelievable. I'm not taking anything away from Triple H. I'm just saying he doesn't wind up in that conversation with the Hogans and the Austins. Fairly or unfairly, fans don't talk about him that way. Why are we talking about Roman any differently than we are Triple H? Roman is the modern. We'll say that again.
I didn't. Well, two things. I'd never heard that about Triple H, and I didn't know you're a Triple H hater.
I'm not a Triple H hater. But are you telling me standing next to Shawn Michaels isn't a net positive for you?
Holy cow! I'd like to stand next to Shawn Michaels.
What about Ric Flair?
I'd just like to stand next to Ric Flair too.
I'm just saying. He surrounds himself with really talented people, and people love it. But when he's on his own, they didn't love it. That's the comparison. I'm not shitting on Triple H at all. I'm also not shitting on Roman. But I am shitting on overpaying. So, let's agree on one thing.
Overpaying what?
You should keep more of your own money, right, John?
What's that got to do with Roman Reigns?
Well, you were saying he's the biggest money drawing guy in history.
You should keep your own money. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about our sponsor. Let's take a listen.
Okay.
My grandfather used to say, there's no stress like money stress, son. Well, are you feeling that right now? Let me help. You've got a friend in the mortgage business in me, and I've helped families just like yours save hundreds of dollars a month. Seriously, we've helped listeners to this podcast save up to $800 a month. At SaveWithConrad.com, we routinely help our podcast listeners consolidate all of their high interest rate credit cards into just one much lower monthly payment. Would you like to lower your monthly payments? Wouldn't it be nice to skip your next 2 house payments? Are you finally ready for some breathing room and peace of mind? Start saving money today with your friend in the mortgage business, me, at SaveWithConrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket. And if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. You see, at SaveWithConrad.com, we don't say no. We say not yet, but here's how. We want to be your mortgage advisor for life. So find out how easy it is to finally get rid of your credit card debt once and for all, get a much lower monthly payment, and even skip your next 2 house payments. Let's find out how much money you can save for free at SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 1281698 and 203902. Equal housing lender.
SaveWithConrad.com. All right, John, it's time for my favorite segment on the show. I think of it as like Antique Roadshow for wrestling. We call it Wrestleworth. Maybe you've got a collectible in your home office or your man cave, and you wonder, hey, I wonder what that's worth. We'd love to hear from you. Send us your pictures, send us your story, send us your items, and we'll get it in front of our resident expert. Let's welcome him into the program now. It's Tony from Heritage Auctions. Tony, you're off of a big weekend. Of course, wrestling fans were focused on Minneapolis for SummerSlam, but you were at the National. And what a display you had. Lots of wrestling stuff there this year, Tony.
Yeah, it was amazing. Very, very big crowds the whole way through. A record-setting number from what I've been told. From start to finish, it was well attended. A lot of people, a lot of interest in the wrestling attire and the memorabilia and the cards. There's just, it's just such a unbelievable level right now. And people are looking to acquire. And another thing is I think you're starting to get investors involved. And anytime you get investors involved in something like this industry, it just really jacks it up quite a bit.
If you take a look over at HA.com, you'll see they're getting things ready for their Platinum Night auction. We're just a couple of weeks away from that. I encourage you to go ahead and get registered now and start tracking some items. There you'll see a belt that we featured here on the program, the NWA United States title. It's at $10,500 right now. What we called the River Belt, an old tag belt thrown into the river by Stone Cold Steve Austin, is valued at $21,000 right now. That's where the current bid is. We featured the gorgeous George robes here on the program. Those are at $22,000 right now. Arn and Ole's old NWA tags are at $23,000 right now. And man, one of the sneakers in this, I didn't expect it. Roddy Piper's jacket from the 80s is at $24,000. This is certainly a cool item. I didn't know there was such an appetite for Roddy Piper, Tony. Are you surprised by this?
That one does surprise me a bit. His collection sold right about 10 years ago now, and it was a smaller company that sold it. And I think what it tells you is that the market is up considerably. Now, Piper is one of the all-time greats, of course, one of the greatest heels of all time, but he was also a good face. And this is one of his earlier jackets. This was the early to mid 80s, but he wore it for an extended period of time. And this one came in with a 30,000 estimate, and it's already at 24,000. And we still have 2 weeks left in the bidding process yet. So I think that one's going to far exceed the estimate. But I think the reason it's at that number is there's so many examples of him wearing this jacket. And you got Howard Finkel. I think that's at MSG, if I'm not mistaken, with that microphone. So he wore it for an extended period of time. It's in great condition yet, though. You would think something that was worn for such a long period of time would be falling apart, but this one has kind of maintained everything. And again, when you can have that photo match of him wearing that exact jacket, that's a big help. And I think what it also does, it just tells everybody that, Roddy Piper, one of the all-timers.
No doubt about it. Another all-time great is the Nature Boy Ric Flair. There's actually a piece of his purple robe that he wore in WWE up available for auction, and I think we have a clip of that right now. Let's take a look.
Heritage Auctions presents, available now for bidding, from 2002, a match-worn Nature Boy swatch from a genuine Ric Flair robe during his WWE run. This swatch is from one of the most prominent robes of Flair's final WWE run from 2002 to 2008. After Olivia Walker passed away, Rick turned to one of the true unsung heroes of sports entertainment, the legendary longtime WWE seamstress, Terry Anderson. Terry has made your favorite wrestlers' WrestleMania gear for decades, and in 2002, she had her biggest challenge yet, a Nature Boy robe. Flair chose purple, and Anderson got to work putting in countless hours to create what many consider this to be one of the most beautiful robes of Flair's career. Rick's first major appearance with the robe was against Chris Jericho at SummerSlam 2002.
Later on, making his first ever appearance at SummerSlam, the incomparable Nature Boy Ric Flair.
In the spring of 2003, Flair found himself as the on-camera advisor to the world champion Triple H. On May 18, 2003, Triple H narrowly escaped a title defense against his old friend Kevin Nash, but Nash had the last laugh, powerbombing his old friend Triple H through the announce desk. The next night, the general manager of Raw, Stone Cold Steve Austin, demanded that Triple H wrestle and defend his title, but he allowed Triple H to handpick his opponent as long as it was a former world champion. Triple H thought he had outsmarted Austin and selected his on-air advisor, Ric Flair.
Matter of fact, I'll wrestle the greatest former world heavyweight champion of all time. I'll wrestle my good buddy, Ric Flair.
What the hell?
There was only one problem. Ric Flair wanted to be champion for the 17th time, and finally this was his shot. The entire story dominated Raw number 521 on May 19th, 2003 from Greenville, South Carolina. Flair would confront Triple H backstage donning this robe and deliver what many consider to be one of Flair's last truly great promos of his WWE career.
And you know what? Tonight, I get my chance, and I know you got a bad back. I know you had a killer match last night. I had 1,000 matches like that, and I never said I can't wrestle.
We would later see Flair primping himself in this robe in the mirror in the locker room.
Woo!
The match was special as the generations of wrestling fans in Flair country wanted their guy to win the big one last time. But in the end, Triple H proved to be too much for the Nature Boy, and the game retained the title.
Out of nowhere, the hook of the leg. Yes! And the game has defeated Ric Flair. What a match!
But that's not where the story ends. the WWE, specifically Triple H and Vince McMahon, wanted to honor Rick in the most special way possible, a show of respect from the locker room. So after the live feed from Spike TV was cut, the entire locker room emptied out to celebrate Rick and his lifelong pursuit of the world title. The WWE filmed this and made it a DVD extra on the best-selling 3-DVD set known as the Ultimate Ric Flair Collection, which was released in November of 2003. This iconic purple robe was also later featured in the trailer for Rick's ESPN 30 for 30 from 2017. The robe also holds a special place in the hearts of gamers. In 2019, WWE partnered with 2K to create a limited-run collector's edition of WWE 2K19. These included exclusive physical memorabilia, including a piece of this iconic purple robe, allowing fans around the globe the opportunity to own a real piece of wrestling history and what many consider the most sought-after collectible in the wrestling space, a piece of Ric Flair's robe.
This collectible contains an actual piece of robe that has been worn by WWE legend Ric Flair. And it's got the photo and the piece of the robe.
And now Heritage Auctions has the Nature Boy swatch from this iconic robe available for bidding. For more information and to place your bid, visit ha.com.
Really great package by Chris McDonald and our team for Heritage Auctions. The Ric Flair robe, for a lot of people, represents the biggest collectible there is for a lot of wrestling fans, depending on when you grew up and what era and that sort of thing. But what's interesting about this piece, Tony, is it's easy to display. You know, a lot of times if you get a robe or something like that, once you own it, as someone who's owned robes before, it's like, hey, how do I display this? This could work in your office or your home office or your man cave or wherever. What do you think about this piece? What do you think this one will wind up going for, Tony?
I love it for many, many factors. What I'll say is very few of us are going to be able to ever afford a match-worn Ric Flair robe. They're about 150, probably 200,000 now. They're just unattainable, and most of them are in private collections, never to be offered. So this is a great opportunity to have basically the best piece of the robe for a fraction of the cost. I think we have a 10,000 estimate on this, but I could see this doing far more because of the historical value of it. We know when it was worn, and you know it was worn for more than just one match. I mean, it's right towards the end of his run. So a lot of factors are making this a really, really cool piece. And again, the robes that are out there of his, they're most, I don't know of any that have sold in an auction setting in quite some time. I know there have been some that have been private sales. They just don't make it to auction. And the ones that have sold are basically never going to, are never going to sell again. So this, you're right. It's a great piece. This is like having Babe Ruth's number 3 almost, or, Lou Gehrig's number. It's so iconic, and it's from, we know when it's from. If it's something that, if we didn't know that it was from the end of his run, that's one thing. But this one, there's, it's got the photo match on it. It's got everything going in the right direction here. And again, Flair, yes, he has signed a lot, but anything match worn, almost impossible to find now. And this is a great alternative, again, for a fraction of the price.
Yeah, you tied in with the video game. You tied in with the ESPN 30 for 30. I mean, it was Flair's first SummerSlam, a bunch of Raws, a bunch of pay-per-views. But the thing that made it special to me was it was actually a DVD extra called A Night in Greenville, where the whole locker room wanted to pay homage to the Nature Boy that night. John, you were there. Do you remember that night in Greenville where after the camera stopped rolling, we came out and celebrated the Nature?
I do. It was because that was close to the Hall of Fame ceremony, right? Was that correct? What time of year was it?
This would have been May of 2003. So it would have been a few years before he went into the hall, but right before they put the DVD out that winter.
It's before the actual Hall of Fame ceremony, which would have been in April around WrestleMania, right? So that was okay. Because I remember when Vince, when he walked out, he goes, "This is your true Hall of Fame." Because Flair was very emotional, as you can imagine. All the boys were out there, and I remember Vince just making that comment to him, which obviously busted Ric Flair up even worse.
It's pretty cool. I love that we get to share this piece, but it's not the only piece that you've got up there right now. There's like 48 different items, all a part of the Heritage Auctions Summer Platinum Night, your Summer Sports Platinum Night auction. It's live now at ha.com. It ends on the 22nd. Encourage you to go get registered right now and go ahead and take a look. There's something for everybody. Jeff Jarrett's got a whole host of things, including a fabulous outfit that he wore when he won the United States title, when he was doing a strut off with Ric Flair, when he was a part of the Horsemen. There's something for everybody in all the different budgets. And don't forget, if you've got something laying around, and we think we may have stumbled onto something just before we clicked record today, which maybe we can feature next week, we want to see your pictures. We want to hear your stories. We'll show it to Tony, see what it's worth. It's wrestleworth@gmail.com. Send us that information at wrestleworth@gmail.com. Tony, thanks for all the time, man. I can't wait to see how this shakes out. Congrats on the Roddy Piper bids, and hope that Jeff and the Nature Boy and a lot of people enjoy the fruits of their labor this go around.
It's a fun process, and I can't wait. It's so much fun because you wait till the end of the auction to see where everything ends at. And we have as much fun when the auction is closing because all the work that's put in, you get to see where it sells for. So it's a fun ride. It's a fun journey, and we can't wait for 2 more weeks to see where everything ends at.
Well, I appreciate the time, man. Thanks for jumping on with us, and we'll see you next week right here on Wrestleworth. And by the way, we're talking all things money. We got to talk about Cash App. John and I are big believers in Cash App, and I can't stress this enough. This is the life hack for moms and dads who are trying to create healthy financial habits for their kids. For all the parents out there with teenagers, man, we know you're trying to keep up with a million different things and keep it all under control. But Cash App is here to help you make your teens money and their spending not add to that craziness. With a Cash App card, and it is available to teens 13 to 17, of course, with the sponsorship of an eligible parent or guardian, every transaction will trigger a real-time notification for you to see. That's going to empower your teen to practice independence, but also give you peace of mind that you're staying on top of things. You can even manage everything directly from your own Cash App account, so you never have to switch between the two. And what I love most about Cash App, buddy, there's no unnecessary surprises. We're talking no monthly fees, no minimum balance requirements, no hidden charges when you're sending or receiving money, but you get 24/7 fraud monitoring. And if the card ever gets lost, you have the ability to lock your card right from your phone in just one tap. It's time that we teach our kids a little bit more about independence and financial responsibility. One of my favorite things with Cash App, though, is it allows the kids to set their own savings goal. They get to set their own goal and track their progress. How cool is that? And right now, they've even allowed kids to start earning interest on their savings. Teens can start with as little as just $1 and grow from there without ever having to pay anything extra. New Cash App customers right now can earn $10 if they use the code FAMILY10 in their profile at sign up and then send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Cash App Visa Debit Flex cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. And the Bancorp Bank N.A. Pursuant to a license from Visa USA, Inc. See terms and conditions for the Sutton Prepaid Card, Sutton Debit Flex Card, and the Bancorp Debit Flex Card. Savings provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. All right, John, so glad that we had our man Tony from Heritage Auctions jump on talking a little bit about Wrestleworth. But now it's time for your favorite segment on the show. It's Curtain Jerkers. And you guys were hooking it up at the museum in Waterloo, Iowa. I'm curious, as you were strutting ass around the museum, you see any Roman Reigns history there?
Now you're hating on the fucking curtain jerkers as well. You're like the ultimate hater. You're like the ultimate damn troll. That's what you turn into. You turn like an Alabama fucking troll.
Wait, hang on. Let me turn the booze down like they did for Roman in 16 and 17
no, bullshit,
and 18
bullshit.
and 19.
When Tony Geese comes on here, you're like, oh, hey, Tony, let me stick my nose up your butt. Because you're like, oh, this is my favorite segment of the whole show. I'm going to sit here and talk to Tony Dees about belts and trophies and all kinds of things, as long as they're not Roman Reigns, because I hate Roman Reigns and Triple H. That's you.
When did I say I hate Roman Reigns or Triple H? Where's the clip of me saying that?
You made it abundantly clear, and then you're like, oh, it's my favorite segment.
I'm putting things over?
No, you're putting over Tony Geese in that favorite segment, and you're burying curtain jerkers.
How am I burying?
Because you don't like Roman Reigns and fucking Triple H.
Do you know that I love curtain jerkers so much I had to book Jamie Dundee a hotel room?
Ooh,
do you know how hard that is to do? They got a picture up in post offices all over the South.
You didn't put a deposit down, did you?
Well, of course not.
Because you ain't getting that son bitch back.
I'm aware. But ladies and gentlemen,
you heard about him, the 700-pound chicks, right?
700 pounds. Yeah. Well, it's in the archives.
I'm just asking now. You're booking him in a hotel and shit can go through the floor.
I did do it with 2 beds. Maybe there's more room for, I guess there's less room for activities, but the kind of activities he will, I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, I know 2 things are true. That old JBL, he's full of
Suffering succotash, son.
And curtain jerkers rules. Let's take a listen.
All right, John, here we are, the Hall of Fame here in Waterloo, Iowa.
Good game.
Thank you, buddy. A
played a good
halfway
game.
pinch run for you.
You did.
At the softball game.
I'm undefeated as a manager.
You are the 72 Dolphins here.
Bam.
Of softball.
Bam. 72 Dolphins. Rocky Marciano.
Now,
Floyd Money Mayweather. JBL. You know what that has in common? Undefeated.
Undefeated.
I once beat Godzilla in his hometown.
Undefeated against reptiles.
Hey, goddamn right.
Street.
JBL just beat a lizard.
As we are here is the Trago says Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. John, how many years have you been coming here?
I've been coming here about 10 years.
So you've seen this actual building just come up.
I have,
They've
yes.
put a lot of work into this.
A lot of work into this. We're going to go to the basement here in a minute, which is really cool, but you got a bunch of stuff here. But it's the only museum in the world that is both amateur and professional, at least that I know of, amateur and professional wrestling.
And where do y'all get all this?
Most of it is all of it is donations. Guys who are willing to donate part of their stuff. Obviously Charlie Thez donated a lot of Lou Thez stuff to help get it started. But over here you got Jerry and Jack Briscoe. You got stuff that was donated by Jack Briscoe. And most of all this stuff came from guys who were willing to donate it to the Hall of Fame. We got the Canadian section here. Actually, Brian Pillman was with them, but I don't know. Brian wasn't Canadian, was he? He wasn't. Well, no, he played the Cincinnati Bengals. You don't know, do you? And you don't care, do you?
I don't know where
you don't care, do you?
Lived.
There's Gerald Briscoe.
It's the best he's ever looked.
By far.
Is that the Baron?
That is Baron. Absolutely. Here's the old practice headlock gimmick.
What is that?
Strangler Lewis used to do that, and they would do it for show mainly, but they would do a headlock. And they'd
wait,
practice.
this is for practice?
For practice,
so they can get used to doing headlocks?
Yeah.
I think you should wear that.
You can't wear it. It's like for practice. It's got the cute little Gerald Briscoe face on it.
What is this little belt?
That is the old, I believe it's one of the old NWA belts.
It's got Lou Thez on it.
Well, that's the old NWA belt.
Wow. That's hard to imagine that he fit in that and wore that around his waist.
He didn't. Well, he didn't.
What?
You had straps.
It's a belt.
Yeah, but you had straps around. That's the buckle.
All this is the buckle?
Yes.
There's a lot of buckles.
It's a damn NWA championship.
I don't know anything about belts, as you can tell. I don't need belts for
somewhere. I want to tell you, somewhere there's a horse glad you're not a cowboy.
Is this Thunderbolt Patterson shirt?
Yes, it is.
How about that?
You know, Mr. Briscoe and Thunderbolt were one of the first mixed tag teams in the history of wrestling.
What we got here, you think? Number 8. Oh, that's Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect singlet. We got Frank Gotch's shoes. Did he carry a sword with him?
Apparently he did, yes.
Did you ever get hit with it?
I didn't wrestle Frank Gotch.
What, are those close to your first wrestling boots, I feel like?
No, I don't feel like they probably are. That was actually much older than, like later in life than Mr. Briscoe's.
That was probably like, what, the 80s?
1880s.
What we got? We got Fritz von Goring. Tell me something about Fritz von Goring.
I don't know Fritz von Goring.
Really?
We got to look him up. But now Jack Briscoe's boots, obviously I know Mr. Briscoe. You know, when I inducted him into the Hall of Fame, the first thing he said before I walked out there, Jack and Jerry said, listen, don't you tell no damn Indian jokes. And I said, guys, it's way too serious. I would never do that. This is the Hall of Fame. So when I walked out there, the first thing I said was, I walk in, and there's Jerry and Jack Briscoe standing by the door, and I said, hey guys, it's not a cigar store, it's a Hall of Fame, come on in.
We got a Harley?
I sent pictures of wooden Indians from all over the world to Mr. Briscoe, and Mr. Briscoe had a wooden Indian as his profile picture on Twitter, back when it was Twitter, not X. And I sent a picture, I said, hey, I think I met Mr. Briscoe, and people started calling me racist. I'm going, he has a wooden Indian on his profile pic.
Harley race boot. What? You ever have any interactions with Mr.
No,
Race?
nothing. I went to his house several times when we were in Kansas City, had barbecue and beers and things like that. But I never got to wrestle Harley, and I never got to be in a territory really with him. He was, Skandor Akbar used to tell me, the only guy tough enough to bump in the Kiel. The Kiel ring was famous for being hard as a freaking rock.
Okay.
And he said Harley Race was the only guy tough enough to bump. And I told Harley that one day, back when he, a couple years before he died. He was in a wheelchair sometimes, not all the time. He goes, yeah, look at me though. I said, yeah, but Harley, you earned your way there. You're a legend.
Speaking of legends, we got the Vern wall over here. Got the Vern plaque. Bob Hope, I know you went to high school with him.
I did. He was funny.
Funny guy.
Yeah, he was actually a real comedian.
Hey, tell me about this picture. Gagne versus Fred Von Schacht. Huh?
I don't know Fred Von Schacht.
You never had a match with Fred?
I never had a match with Fred, never had a match with Vern. I broke in Minnesota, but Vern had already the territory had already kind of died. Eddie Sharkey was running up there then, but not much. And so I went down to Texas to get my start because AWA was kind of dead. Bischoff had already left and went down to WCW. Not that Bischoff was ahead of the territory, but Vern was. Vern actually had a chance to get Mr. T.
Really?
Because Mr. T was a huge fan of Tony Atlas. And Vern's response was, I'm not going to have an actor in the ring.
Now,
how dare you?
Now you got to have one on the show, or you don't.
That's right. Yeah, boy, Vern would love influencers, wouldn't he? Like, hey, Vern, this guy's big on YouTube.
What does he do? He just records himself.
He records himself a lot doing shit.
Kids love him.
Yeah, absolutely. Vern would love that.
Well, there's a lot in that picture. First of all, look at the people looking at the camera. 1952.
That's actually very perceptive. People actually were apparently.
Look at that.
Either there's an entrance going on right here, or somebody yelled, "Hey guys!"
Yeah, they got all 12,000 people to look at the same.
Hey, we're going to see something in a minute. We're going to see a bust of Jody Malenko in a minute.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't wait.
So a lot of people think it's Maurice Tillett, but it was actually Jody Malenko.
All right, what do we got here?
Old magazines. Are you kidding me?
Old magazines. Duh.
Gary Albright. That man was a fucking stud.
Who?
Gary Albright. Absolute stud.
He looks like a Steiner brother. He looks a little like a Steiner, like Rick.
He does. He was tough like the Steiners. He would tie you in a fucking knot. They had a guy that was just a dickhead, and he and Doc were going to work with him. And they wanted to make him look bad, and so every time they'd turn around, Gary would just like single leg him and take him down and make him fall, but wouldn't follow up on it. So he just made him look clumsy. So the whole match, Gary would just like hook his ankle and give him a shoulder and just make him fall. And they did that for like 30 minutes straight. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And the fans are going like, "Who's that clumsy bastard in there with Gary Albright?"
Yeah, it's so good.
Now, here's the picture. This is Jody Malenko.
The Jody Malenko bust in the Wrestling Hall of Fame.
It looks just like him, doesn't it?
That's the Angel. What's his?
Now that's like a miniature size.
A lot of people think it's Maurice Tillett, but it's not Maurice Tillett. And then there's people that are heckling us here. There's some fans, some marks here that are in the thing.
But this isn't life size. This is miniature, right?
No, that's life.
For Jody.
That's miniature of Jody. Jody's got a huge head. I mean, Jody's got. If that man would need a wash tub to wear a hat. Like if you had to put a hat on him, be like a wash tub. You just like be like
just turn it up.
You put it turn upside down. Put a brim on a wash tub. He's like real funny.
I mean, he's legitimately funny.
He's like very funny.
But Jody's funny.
Look. That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
That little teeny tiny thing.
It's 4K, right?
You know how many times I've heard that? You know how many times I've heard that? That's it.
See, I told you he's not funny. He's.
And John, you were joined by a good friend of yours.
I'm joined by a good friend, Mr. Jody Malenko, also known as the Great Malenko.
No, the Great Malenko was my dad.
Well, yeah, but people call you Great Malenko. I know. I've heard them.
I've never heard them say anything great about me.
Yeah, they call your brother like the Good Malenko.
Yeah.
And
Well, they always think I'm my brother.
They do?
Yeah.
You guys don't look alike.
You
guys don't look
alike
alike at all.
No, but he's the famous one. I kind of slide in under the.
But you're like the Shizuda, and you've got the head in the Waterloo Museum. The
giant cast of me.
Yeah, the giant cast. Yeah.
I think they've renamed me though.
Well, what have they renamed you?
Toilette. I'm Jody Toilette. Actually, it's Joe. They just couldn't spell toilet. See, I think I'm funny.
I think you're like really, yeah.
Stop.
What?
Don't get hot.
You're getting hot.
I know.
You're the one I tell you they're Great Malenko, and you get all mad at me.
I was slightly irritated.
Hey, you just went over to Wigan, didn't you?
I did.
The snake pit.
I didn't see a fucking snake in that place. There wasn't
anywhere?
There was no snakes.
Why do they call it the snake pit then?
I'm not sure. Josh Barnett probably knows why they call it the snake pit. Because he's a raconteur of history that I can never.
What?
A raconteur of history.
A raconteur.
Yes, of history.
Yeah, I have time for that.
He's a raconteur.
And I know those kind of words because I went to a Leering Center.
Family Leering Center.
Up in Minneapolis.
You went to a family Leering Center?
I did.
Did
He
you?
leered.
Well,
you should have seen how he leered.
Here, watch this.
Oh,
Watch
boy.
this. Watch what I learned.
I don't know why it's called.
Now, at first, I thought it was a family leaning center.
Leaning center,
So
yeah.
I was like, here. And then they
sell
said,
it
stop leaning
There's an
on me.
R in there like wash tub.
We're now joined by Josh Barnett, who is now in here. We got a full house now.
We have a full house.
Look, both of these guys have trained a lot of people, John.
They've trained a lot of people, and they're like two shooter guys.
And
And they both were from the snake pit.
Shooter.
Which we're not. Yeah, shooter. You're like
Okay.
tough guys who know how to like bend.
You're mumbling your words, man. Shooter.
That's what I said.
He said, sure.
Sure.
That's what I said.
Now, John, I've been telling you that I'm thinking about making my wrestling debut. So,
Yeah.
Keep telling him.
And these guys,
All two of you.
guys, both of y'all,
They train people.
yeah.
Legendary
When you
training.
look, if I walked in to get trained by y'all, what would be your first thought?
Train you to stay away from the table. Yeah.
Carl used to talk about push-ups.
To use a fork when you eat.
But you
Also,
also
Gotcha.
donut is not a food group.
You know what Gotcha's thing?
Wait a minute.
You know what Gotcha's thing was, right? How many times a day do you eat? How many times a day do you eat?
3.
How many times a day do you take a shit?
Once.
Reverse it.
Oh.
That was
They
Carl's
start
thing.
shitting more.
Every morning, Carl, oatmeal. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
Reverse it.
Every morning.
Not
Carl, have
opium.
Oatmeal. Oatmeal.
Opium.
Yeah, if you come in to train with us, you're going to be having
Opium would probably take a little bit of weight off you.
You mentioned he might have his own gravitational field.
Yes, I did. We said how we
I
ended
feel
up
the
in his
pull.
orbit, and I just said we couldn't get away from it.
I seem to draw people in. He's like, it's a
You just turn us into moons. We just orbit around you. You're our personal
An
Saturn.
orbit. Didn't
Not the
Leon
biggest
like
planet,
that?
but
His orbit?
small.
I'm no Pluto.
But you got a lot of gas too,
He may be a Uranus.
or at least his pants this morning found Uranus, didn't it?
Yes, it
So
did.
this guy bought this matching suit of this button-up, short sleeve button-up, and shorts, real fancy ensemble, and it's got a very mid-century modern pattern on it. And he thought it'd be a great gag for some reason to, I don't know, look like he actually cared. So then he goes to bend over to do something this morning, probably pick up his fallen donut, and Uranus.
Shorts
ripped?
Yeah, shorts ripped, and Uranus
tag on.
was out there orbiting the Earth.
Did Uranus get? Was it orbiting?
Uranus was Neptune's gases were released all over.
How much did they rip?
Oh, big.
Also, looking at the size of this shirt, you know the shorts had to be big, or did you mix and match? Did you get the kids' shorts with the 5XL shirt?
Was it like your animals where you had like?
Yeah, exactly.
You got the tags.
Yeah,
And you match them up.
Tiger and the tiger.
Yeah.
You matched Uranus with Uranus or Pluto.
Nobody knows what we're talking about.
No, nobody knows.
That was
nobody.
barely
They ought to do
Yeah.
that. You know, they ought to do that for people. Because I've seen a lot of people who really don't know how to dress.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Adults or animals would be pretty good.
I think that's the next big thing.
So snake pit. Don't know why it's called the snake pit. Maybe because a pit full of snakes is a bad thing to be in.
Probably.
Yeah, and they tangle up on you and bite you. and on you.
Harrison Ford didn't like it.
No, he didn't.
Yeah,
He
he
wasn't a
didn't.
big fan.
Are there
No.
snakes in the UK?
There used to be.
Yeah.
But then, who was it?
St. Patty
Yeah.
ran them all out of Ireland.
Sure did.
He should have kept the snakes and ran the Irish out of
So he was
Ireland.
so he was a snake wrangler? I'm not even acknowledging that.
Man.
That's a friend.
Stiff.
I'm gonna be taken out. I'm gonna be taken out by the Irish
Yeah,
mafia.
good
because of
thing
you.
he's not in Ireland working the show.
You're not over an island.
So you've always been a heel.
I was in Ireland one time and I was wrestling with Stone Cold. Stone Cold's referee, and I was wrestling Kurt Angle and John Cena. And I got on the top rope and I said, catch me in a power slam off the top rope because Cena's so freaking strong. I felt safe, with him doing it. Well, Kurt Angle back elbows him and John Cena goes out one way and Kurt Angle goes out the other. And now it's just Stone Cold, the referee, sitting there. He goes, what are you going to do now? I said, I guess climb down. I don't know. I didn't really want to be up here to begin with. And now I'm just going to climb down.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
You know what though? You had an idea. Oh no, it didn't.
I did have an idea.
The first time I jumped off of a rope was by accident too. I whipped Yotaka. It was me and Manabu Nakanishi versus Yutaka Yoshie, rest in peace. I forget who he was tagging with, and I whipped Yoshie into the corner, and Nakanishi would do this chop thing on the top of the head. So I whipped Yoshie in the corner, run, hit him with a flying knee, end up flying over the top of him, flagging on accident, end up on the apron. I'm like, what am I going to do now? So I just climbed up the ropes, and he's sitting here. So I jump off the ropes, turn, and hit him with a chop in the head, and the whole place just falls out. And I'm like, I'll take it.
Mine didn't work out that well.
Well, I mean, it looked pretty bad. Here comes the shooter.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
It's one of the best shoot moves ever.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't realize that if UFC would allow me to climb the cage, I would have used it.
How do you remember all those?
Too
How do you
dangerous.
remember all those Japanese guys' names? I couldn't even pronounce half of them.
I
had trouble with Nakatomi Plaza.
Every Christmas, he's like, "What was that building that blew up?"
Knock your tummy.
Knock your tummy? Did you wrestle knock your tummy?
Knock your tummy.
He's just hypnotized.
Was he good?
He wasn't good. He was a shit.
Yeah.
But I didn't get hot.
Butt to the belly. That was it.
Knock your tummy. Jody, when did you meet John Bradshaw Layfield?
It was back in 1932. We were I don't remember. When did we meet? It hasn't been like long.
It hasn't been that long.
Yeah, maybe.
I worked with your brother. He was good. He was.
Did you just pick him up? Did you just pick him up?
He was funny too.
He is funny.
Yeah, he's funny.
I'm
He's
waiting for him
funny.
to just recognize me at once. Like, oh, I actually say something to me. I'm like, hey, how you doing?
He does the same. He does the same shit to me. It's his gimmick.
All right.
And now with the whole Parkinson thing, he's got like legit reason to
But now he's just going to use it. Like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm sorry, I was having an episode. See ya. Wheels off.
Sorry, Shell, Dean, whoever you are.
John, what about y'all two? Josh, when y'all meet?
I don't know when the first time we actually
I
met
don't know
was.
the first time. No.
You're very memorable, aren't you?
No, apparently I.
Nobody remembers meeting
Well, but here's the thing. I could have met him at like a WWE event of some sort.
Right.
But it gets to be so busy at these things that I don't fault anyone for being like, oh shit, yeah, I have met you, because it becomes high and by, especially, I don't know if he was working on the card, that he's got stuff on his mind. And if it was, usually I wouldn't necessarily come out to Raws, but I would come out to WrestleMania and SummerSlam, depending on if I had guys that I worked with that were there. And I could have ran into him there.
Yeah, it could have been there. It could have been a UFC.
Yeah, you never know. I was with Tony Allison up in Mid-Atlantic in the mid-'70s, right? And we rode together and everything. I knew he was going to be in town, so I went to visit with him, and he tried to give me an autograph, an autograph and a picture. Swear to God.
What did he charge you?
No, he should have just said I'm a size 10. Don't you remember? And he'd have remembered you then.
Did you kick him in the head?
I should have. If I would have known he was going to forget me.
I clip my toenails and everything.
Cassio's from Hungary. He's hungry.
Are you from Hungary?
He's from Hungary. He's part Hungary, part Turkey.
That's right. That's right.
He kicked him out of Turkey because he would have ate the whole thing.
He's from based
Turkey.
In Turkey. Yeah, he's from based to Turkey.
He's from Vegas.
Stuff in turkey. The only thing missing from today at the softball game was having JR call it.
That's right. That's right.
And we'd have to stick him out there with no sun protection, nothing.
That's right. Where he gets miserable and grumpy.
And he just lets loose.
That's right. Because
he can't help but even be funny when he's mad.
Yeah.
I don't know if he intends to be funny, but
but when he's mad, he's really funny. Get JR out there in the sun. Don't let him wear his hat, and let's get him like bacon.
My most recent wrestling story, and I'll tell you this before I get into a little bit of regular comedy, is I do podcasts, and I've had the honor of running into a bunch of my heroes right now. Not one of my heroes, but I do a podcast with JBL, and thank you. But one of the heroes I got to work with is the good old JR, Jim Ross. How about it for Jim Ross? JR, wishing you well wherever you are. Great. He's turned out to be a great guy, and if you've ever ran into JR, you know JR is JR at all times. And as of course you know, if he is talking to you and he's busting your balls, you have no idea if he's joking or not, because he keeps a straight face really well. And I don't mean that sarcastically. I mean that's why you don't know if he's joking with you or not. But if you know him, you know he's got a great sense of humor. And we did a convention together, and we were at StarCast in Chicago, and I was lucky enough to be doing some stage stuff there. And I came in a room like this where catering was, and it was a green room, and a lot of the talent was there, a lot of wrestlers. They were waiting to do their autograph sessions, and I walked in looking for something. I was looking for my buddy Conrad Thompson, and I walk in looking for him. And if you have ever been around Jim Ross, you know when he speaks, everyone listens. No matter if he's talking to you or not, you hear that iconic voice, and the whole room goes quiet, kind of like every one of my comedy shows right now. It goes to a hush, and everyone pays attention. So I walk in, and I'm looking for Conrad, and as I see Conrad, I hear, "Cassio!" And the whole room gets quiet. Everybody's eating lunch from catering, and they all look up to see Jim Ross standing at the food. And he says, "Cassio!" And I turn around and said, "Oh, Mr. Ross, good to see you." He goes, "Come here!" So now everybody's looking. And I go, "Yeah, how you doing, Jim? Good to see you, sir. Hadn't seen you in a little bit. Good to see you." He says, "Cassio, you want to see something that's going to change your life?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm about to show you something that's going to blow your fucking mind." And I was like, "Oh my God, it's fantastic." I go, "What is it, Mr. Ross?" And he goes, "This right here is a fucking salad." And that's what all the green room did as well. All the heroes I was around were now laughing, going, "He does need a salad. That's pretty good."
I walked out of the shower one time, and Luna Vachon was in the locker room because she would just walk in anywhere. I mean, she didn't give a shit.
She looks like a don't give a fuck.
She didn't care.
Oh, what are you going to do?
Well, everybody was scared of her, so nobody's going to do anything. So she's standing there, and I've walked out of the shower buck naked, and I've got a towel right here. But I walk in, and I see her, and she's like behind her, and I stop, and then I thought, oh shit. So I like behind her, like I'm doing like a little dance, to make the boys laugh. Somehow she figures out what I'm doing and turns around and grabs my balls with her nails. I just grabbed her, and I'm like, Medusa, no, Medusa. I said, Luna, could I please apologize to you at any point? Please, Miss Vachon, would you let go of my balls? And she thinks it's funny. She goes, I got you, cowboy. I got you.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that voice in romantic moments? Come here.
I got you, cowboy. Yes, ma'am, you do. And I would appreciate if you would let me go.
So we were not in the locker room, but we're a small town. We're making a shot. Got to the hotel. You used to heel in, right? So I don't know. There were probably 6 guys. Tiger Conway. Anyway, a bunch of different guys. I went to the bathroom. I came out of the bathroom, and all the guys had dropped their drawers, and all their assholes were facing me as I came out of the bathroom. Yeah, that's probably the funniest thing that I ever saw.
Showing you the best side.
Yeah. I just had a bunch of assholes staring at me. Like, hey guys.
What'd you say?
I just say, hey guys, bunch of assholes, and I walked off.
Been like, oh, look at you. That's the best side.
It is the best side.
We're in Calgary in the locker room, and me and Barry Windham are taking a shower, but they don't tell us that the Hart Foundation is going to come in there and they're looking for Sean or something, storyline wise. And so they got cameras and all, so it's live TV. We don't know that. We don't know it's live TV. So when they come in there, Davey Boy looks around and like he's looking for Sean, but he didn't realize me and Windham were actually in the shower showering. They didn't tell us we're about to shoot a scene in the locker room. So me and Windham turn over and moon Davey Boy. When they do that, Owen looks around the corner at the same time. He goes, guys, he's in here. And when he does, the camera turns. We're about to be on global television. And fucking Davey Boy stops the cameraman right before he goes.
The Ultimate Ripper stopped it.
Oh, yeah. The Ultimate Ripper. Davey Boy's the one that stopped it.
Nope.
That's right. Davey Boy stopped the camera and goes, no, guys, we're over here. Oh, yeah. That's how close me and Wyndham came to being on.
What do you think would have happened?
That's a good question.
Well, they weren't probably spreading their butt cheeks, so I think they got away with it.
Well, we don't, John, were you?
No, we were not. We were not.
You gotta ask.
What's around the court? Just 2 zeros?
Yeah, because when the Owen said, I think they're in here, me and Wyndham just went, oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. Me and Wyndham in there cuddling like this, butt naked. Yeah.